What's happening, everybody? Welcome to the lab. I'm your host, Joshua Diaz, and tonight we have one of our frequent guests and a favorite of the show, Dr. Gary Brucato, who is a forensic psychologist and author of The New Evil. And if you haven't picked that up, please make sure to check that out. Dr. Gary is a seasoned author and lecturer, and he has contributed to one of the largest mass serial killer data, it would be serial killer mass murder. Excuse me. There is a difference. And anyway, it's good to see you, Dr. Gary. How are you? You got the cup going? I bet that you strike me as the kind of guy that drinks the coffee that is just like mud.
Well, I mean, let's face it, coffee is a drug, and if you eventually you stop getting anything out of it unless you go harder, any other drug. So, I need the coffee that's like, pure dark roast, midnight magic, dark as possible roast from some, bodega somewhere in New York. That's the only thing that has any punch.
It's like the coffee that Al Qaeda drinks.
Josh. All right. Incidentally, I can't see the chat on the right side. Is it going to be on the? Oh, I see. It's on the screen, right?
It should
but
be.
It's so tiny. It's like I need.
Are you talking about? It's like on the. What about now?
You usually can see it inside the studio here because
Maybe,
I like to follow the chat and all the.
Yeah, switch over to live. It should say
dreadful things that people say, and very nice things they say.
Yeah.
But, let's see.
Yeah, my grandpa used to call it third floor hospital coffee. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, that's it. That's about that. Exactly. I totally get what that means. It's a type of coffee that would be like mass produced in a busy atmosphere where you're basically giving people like the cheapest thing, and the doctors are sipping it so they could stay awake. The nurses are like pumping it into their veins. I know what they mean. And you know what, Josh? It's really bothering me. I can't see the chat. So
I don't know. So go.
Thing comes in. Just.
I don't know why you can't see it though. I don't understand because
usually I could see it pretty clearly. You know what? Maybe it's that I have to log into Google. But don't let me. You introduce the show and I'll figure it out.
Anyway, he left. I'm up here all alone. Anyway, I think he'll be back. He went to go sign into Google. Things that we should do before the show. But nobody's worse at that than I am, to be honest with you. Anyway, so tonight we're going to take some calls, case related, or, just last show with Chris, we did a little bit more, advice. Dr. Gary, you cannot give clinical advice ethically. Like I said, though, I sure can because I have no restraints, but I'm just kidding. I would never do that. But it is great to see you guys. How is everybody? Happy Sunday to you. The Dodgers suck. And but they tied it. I'm so sick of the Dodgers, man. I got to be honest with you. As a Giants fan, is that better?
No, I still don't see it, but that it is what it is. They tried to get me to do a free trial of live stream. Like
click on the top. Click on you see where it says comments on the side at the top. Click on that.
Well, it doesn't say comments. It says studio chat.
Okay,
it doesn't show the comments from other people.
You mean private chat? It says.
Yeah, it shows the private chat, but I don't.
Go up to the very top where it says comments.
You have that option. I don't.
Everybody should have that option.
I don't have that option. No, I don't. It doesn't matter. I don't want to bother people with this. But
anyway,
let's jump in. At least can you make what they're saying bigger on the screen here, like where you're showing the?
I wish that I could, but I can't. They only give you one size.
Dear Lord.
One size fits all. I don't.
But read them out in real time.
Yeah, but you've never had this problem before, have you?
No.
That's what I don't understand. It's.
That's okay. Point to someone and tell them to come up to the board and read them.
We can do that, huh?
Anyway, it's okay. It's completely moot unless they say anything that I need to know about that's directed at me.
Yeah, I mean, I'll put up the relevant
No.
comments. But, anyway, so once again, good to see you. We're gonna do, like I said, we're gonna do a call-in show. I kind of went over the prerequisites of it's always the same type rules, no clinical advice, but we can listen, and if they're a case that they're curious about, or anything along those lines. And I know that we've had a lady that's been trying to call in for some time, and apparently, I don't know what happened, but she got blocked, and I have no idea.
Oh, I know. She's very nice. She's always commenting on my piano page too.
Yeah,
mentions it that
well, that's fixed. So,
oh, good, because she's very, very, very nice person.
It was very difficult to find.
It was just an accident, and in the meantime, Josh, let me just say that because you've been mentioning it on the show, a lot of new subscribers have come in on the piano page that I do.
That's right. Yeah. We'll put that in the chat as well.
Yeah, which I won't see. But the thing is that people are very kind. There's a small sort of cluster of people that can't comment on everything, and some people are very kind and send little tips and things. In fact, I used the tips to buy this coffee.
Very nice.
I will enjoy it, and right down to the last drop.
The ISIS coffee. Click this link.
I would never drink iced coffee.
No, I said ISIS coffee.
Oh, stop with that.
Okay. Click.
Can you picture me drinking iced coffee?
I have iced coffee with me. I'm about to
God.
About to dig into it here in a second. Shit. Shoot. Stop cussing.
That goes on a list of things, like if they made like a Dr. Gary action figure, there's like certain objects I would come with.
Yeah, like a water bottle that had like a spray bottle for your plants.
I would probably come with a plant. Like
you would have a water bottle for that and trying to think. I don't know. Maybe a fedora.
Well, I would never see that goes on the list of things that like would never come with the Dr. Gary action figure. Definitely not. I mean, never. A fedora? No. But I have to tell you, like, that an iced coffee, that's how you know you got a knockoff, like a Chinese knockoff Dr. Gary figure.
Yeah.
Probably looks like Bruce Lee. Hey, if they made a figure of you, what would it come with?
I don't know. Like, I mean, I had somebody make me a Funko, like one of those Funko things.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the Funko Pop. I have a couple of those. I have one of Freud. Of Poe. I have one of Poe.
It was me holding a microphone.
Really?
Yeah.
Didn't you used to use that as your image?
Yeah, one of them. Yeah, but I did have some Funko Pop. Somebody did make me one of those, but I don't know. I mean, maybe a iced coffee and a microphone.
Yeah, something like that, and maybe the dog.
Well, I have two of them.
Yeah, they'd have to make little.
I can hold them both at the same time for about 45 seconds. And
Is
then
there a variant of the figure that has the man bun?
No. No, I don't have the man bun. Those days are gone.
Oh.
Don't you?
Mine has a spinning mouth that's always sort of dour looking, and if you try to turn it into a happy face, it bites you.
Have you ever gotten bit like by your Venus flytrap?
Well, a Venus flytrap will close if you sort of tickle the cilia that are on the trap.
Yeah, and then what happens?
But nothing will happen to you. Although it is interesting you ask that, because for some days, I had a very serious contact dermatitis from a plant the other day and could not feel two of my fingers for over 24 hours. And I played the piano in a video. I played a piano in a video where you can't tell that I couldn't move the two fingers. I was cutting a what's called a giant taro. It's a type of alocasia, a big leaf plant, and it has crystals, little just stabbing, painful oxalate crystals, and I got them all over my hands. It was like, eh. And the next thing you know, like I couldn't move two of them. It's funny. I was in a plant shop yesterday, and I was giving a little tour to a friend of mine of all the plants in the store that are deadly.
Yeah.
That are completely toxic. It's a very interesting subject.
And how long did it take for you to get the feeling back?
Oh, it was really disturbing. I mean, it took about 30 hours before I could feel the pinky and the ring finger again. I mean, they were pretty numb, and then I had dermatitis over the hand. It was terrible. I looked like I had gotten bitten by something. Like I had an immunological.
You kind of did, really, to be honest with you.
Bad. Yeah. Well, plants they're not always nice. Not everything you're nice to in this world is nice back.
One time
that's the lesson of a lesson of life.
Well, one time I spilled a bunch of gasoline on my hand.
On purpose?
Yeah, on purpose. I said accidentally. And
accidentally on purpose, Freud would be.
It was like I was putting, like, it had a gas can. I was putting gasoline in like the equipment, and a bunch of it, just like the lid thing, popped off, and it dumped all over my hand, and it hurt really bad. So then I went over and I was rinsing it off, but my hand swelled up like quite a bit.
Dear Lord, is that the worst accident you've ever had?
Oh no. I've had some pretty bad ones before. One was when I was running through the woods I was probably a teenager, and I impaled myself. My knee got impaled on
running through the woods.
Yeah, it was a kid, and we were running through it was a park, like it was a redwood tree park, and my knee got impaled, like it got stuck, like I had to pull it out and then make it to the top of the trail where an ambulance was on the way, and I drug my leg halfway up the hill, and yeah, it was a whole mess. But I'm glad that you enjoyed that, me getting
impaled. The word
stuck into my leg, and it cracked my kneecap.
Oh my God, that sounds disturbing. I once had a bee go in my mouth.
I was in a wheelchair for 4 weeks.
Really?
Yeah, and then I was on crutches for like the stitches and everything were across my kneecap, so I couldn't bend my knee for like months.
Oh my God, I had a bee go in my mouth one time, and the whole thing blew up inside. Did you ever have a bee go in your mouth?
No.
Oh, that was the worst. I've had some crazy stuff happen to me. One of the craziest things that ever happened to me was when I was a little boy. I won the Tokyo Art Exchange. Now, there's a sentence you hear every day, but I won the Tokyo Art Exchange for an artwork I made. And what happened is I had to go meet the mayor, who at the time was Mayor Koch, who you probably remember him. He was he looked like a newborn. He was so bald. You remember him? He was a very, very bald guy, curmudgeon, And I was wearing dress shoes that I actually had gotten for my first communion.
Yeah.
And I didn't typically wear dress shoes at that time. I was very particular about what I put on my feet. My parents both needed to use the restrooms in Gracie Mansion. There's another sentence you hear every day.
Yeah.
They went into the bathroom, and I was sort of standing there at the bottom of this staircase that went up, sort of like Addams Family style, like from, up into 2 directions. And I was like, screw this. I'm going to find them. So I tried to run up, and I fell, and both of my ankles sort of broke from the shoe, like twisting the wrong way, and my feet went out like that way, like both that way. Yeah. And my parents had to carry me and like put me on the subway like that, and I had to go be in a wheelchair in the hospital. I looked like a penguin. It was really, really bad. I had a penguin walk, like a little Charlie Chaplin thing going on. Yeah. Some crazy accidents. I really have. You have no idea. I can't believe you haven't had more than what you described.
Oh, that was just one of my first. I mean, I had my orbital bone broken playing basketball.
I didn't know you played, but I mean, you're pretty tall, right?
Yeah, like 6'2", almost 6. I'm not 6'3", but close.
You're 6'3", really?
6'2", yeah, 6'2", 6'2.5", something like that.
Good. You're like one of those people that you're in that small group that like doesn't get weeded out on dating sites, because like people will only like they do the search and they only want like you have to like they check the boxes as like pituitary problem,
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I'm not pituitary problem tall, but I'm taller than I think it's a little above it. My children are extremely enormous, so I don't ever feel overly tall when I'm with them. Ever.
Extremely enormous.
Yeah. Yeah, they're
Featuring, like Lurch and Robert Wadlow.
something like Everybody Loves Raymond, like the brother.
Oh yes, Brad
Like
Garrett.
tall like that.
It's funny because the father on the show, Peter Boyle, played the Frankenstein's monster because he was hulking, but Brad Garrett was even bigger than him.
Is that right? Really?
Of course, of course.
Wow. Well, we got a couple calls here, so let's go ahead and
okay.
Start
look,
it. And
look at your admirers in the chat, because now I'm looking at the chat on a separate page, like via YouTube, and as soon as I open it, it's like Josh getting all kinds of compliments. Look at this. Look at you.
What?
You've got them lining up for you, boy.
Where?
Read them.
I only see Josh looks sharp.
There's a lot of it.
Oh, well. Well, I appreciate it. That's very kind. I got a haircut, so maybe that is contributing to it. Julia, where are you calling from, Julia? You're on the air.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Sure can.
Awesome. I am calling from Dallas, the Dallas caller who doesn't sound like she's from Texas.
I remember.
And Cowboys are terrible.
I won't disagree with that.
Are you a Cowboys fan?
No.
By default, I don't care about football, but by default, I think I have to say yes.
Sure, I understand.
So
completely.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to call in early because I know that these calls often take a little bit more of like a moving turn, and I have a deeply unsexy question that I wanted to ask before things got real.
That's Dr. Gary's alley.
So my question is for Dr. Gary. Okay, in the Jodi Arias trial, there was a battle of the experts, as there always is.
Right.
And there was disagreement about which instruments they used and which ones should have been used because they were normed on a clinical population or normed on, I guess, another non-clinical population. Can you explain what that means, when it would be appropriate to use each one, and if an affirmative defense case would change that, like in some situation where there's obviously some kind of trauma or some kind of experience outside the norm?
To be perfectly honest with you, I'm not sure of what the measures were that were used during the trial, so it's not really possible for me to answer it. What was it that was used, and what was the contested point about it? Do you know off the top of your head?
I think it was is it the MMPI?
Yeah, okay. It would have been probably the MMPI-2 at the time.
Yeah, that might have been it.
Multiphasic personality inventory. Yeah, okay. What about it?
I'm trying to remember. I think one psychologist said that she had PTSD.
Right.
And the other one said that she had personality disorders, I think.
Right.
But they're
not mutually exclusive.
Yeah, and I think there was dispute over I guess they had used tests that were meant for a clinical population, and they were saying that that was inappropriate because she had never been previously diagnosed with something. I don't know if this.
Yeah, that sounds like a stretch. I mean, in the look, Koberger was never diagnosed as autistic until they assessed him, to our knowledge, until they assessed him before the trial. Does that dismiss the testing because he was only given the testing right before? You see what I'm saying? I mean, I think the logic is that what they're trying to argue, if I'm following, is something like this. If you give someone a psychological test battery just before a trial, you're introducing bias because the person could malinger or, pretend or whatever for defensive reasons. But the thing is that there are tests that are designed to pick up on malingering. For example, the MMPI-2 has built into it ways of telling when somebody is not telling the truth or is exaggerating. So that what I think I'm vaguely starting to pick up from the question is the idea that somebody probably argued that the measures would have to take into consideration the possibility that if you're diagnosing somebody for the first time before a trial, there's a possibility that they're just going to fake it to try to get the case mitigated or get, as part of defense, or say that they were so mentally ill they didn't know what they were doing or something like that. But that's not a particularly sophisticated argument, because the measures that are used, I can tell you from my own work, have things built, they have scales built into them to tell when people are fibbing or exaggerating, including the MMPI-2. So, but I could see somebody, people try all kinds of arguments about things. Now, remember, a personality disorder is not mutually exclusive with a dissociative disorder, particularly certain kinds of personalities. For example, a person could have a cluster A personality with paranoid or schizoid or schizotypal aspects and have a dissociative quality. A person could be a little bit borderline and have dissociative features, particularly if there's PTSD at the root of the borderline organization, etc. And so I think, it's a very interesting question, and I hope I'm accurately picking up on what the issue was, but I'd have to look it up in the court records and so forth to figure out exactly what the argument was, but I'm pretty sure that's what you're touching on. How do you feel about it? Do you think that the argument could be made that people can't be diagnosed with something for the first time because it's happening in the context of a court case?
No, I mean, I would think there are some people where you're going to see, they've had lifelong symptoms of something, and then there are going to be some people that, don't come into view, like their symptoms don't come into view until they really come into view, or, something progresses a little bit. So that what you're saying makes sense. And I know that there is some judgment that needs to be used when you're doing these tests, right? Because a lot of them were normed on men of a certain demographic. And if you're trying to extrapolate to women, it might be a little bit unreliable. I know people make those arguments, but it sounds like you're saying the clinical versus non-clinical is less important because of those built-in measures that are meant to identify malingering.
Well, the MMPI-2, I mean, the argument you could make about it was that they normed it on a bunch of people from Minnesota. I mean, and a long time ago, so there are other arguments with the MMPI-2. Now we're on the 3, as I understand it. But the MMPI-2, meaning that I'm not sure if there's some new edition that under my nose has come out. But the MMPI-2, I mean, people had issues, for example, with the way that it conceptualized gender. That a person who, had characteristics that were too masculine or too feminine, depending upon the person's birth sex, could be pathologized on the MMPI-2, things like that. And, as time changes, we reconceptualize how we think about that. If you norm, even now, even today, if you were to norm a test with a bunch of people in Minnesota, I don't know how much you could generalize that to the rest of the country, right? So the norming is an interesting thing, but I'd have to look into what the specific issues were with the Jodi Arias case. I find that case quite interesting, don't you, Josh?
Yeah, Jodi Arias she was a interesting.
Yes.
Her interrogations were just fascinating and creepy and tone deaf and all the hallmarks of a legitimately crazy person. I mean, she was
right.
She was a very scary person. I mean, personally, I think that's pretty obvious because
one of the things that does have that, and I'm not giving a diagnosis, I want to say, but one of the things that does have that personality disorder feel to it is that anyone I know who has ever interacted with her has told me, and I mean both men and women, heterosexual men and heterosexual women, have both told me that they find her strangely seductive and attractive.
Yeah, but
there's something about her personality that pulls for people to sort of, to kind of be charmed or something like that. It does have a characterological kind of aspect to it.
But that might have been the case, like if I had maybe met her in, before any of that stuff. I have a really hard time looking past anything that anybody's ever done, when it comes to those kind of life crimes, and it just takes anything that could be remotely attractive about that person, whether it be personality, whether it be looks. It just goes out the window. I don't even think I know why that's just me, but I know why those stories get picked up on the way that they do, because young attractive people get all the headlines, so I think I'm kind of against that too.
Well, it is interesting also the phenomenon that there are some people who are attracted to people because they're criminals. And then there's also the phenomenon of people being attracted to people who have worked with criminals or been near them. I mean, that's the other thing that is sort of interesting. It's this kind of hyperstophilia by proxy kind of thing. It's an interesting thing. But I appreciate the call. I'm going to look into it a little bit to see what the specific issues were. You seem to know, the inner workings of that case pretty intimately. If you can find the specific measures that were used and the language that raised this issue for you, send it to me, because I'd be interested in being able to address it a little bit more. But I would have no concerns whatsoever about the use of those measures. No.
Okay,
No,
awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate the input.
of course.
Julia, thanks for calling in. I appreciate it.
All right, absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Of course. Somebody is saying hello in the studio chat.
I don't know who that is. I don't know.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. Okay. This is a long time coming here. Lisa, we finally got you on. Are you there?
Oh, Lisa.
Hello.
Hi. I'm so sorry. I had to figure, I don't know what happened. You weren't blocked through the chat. It's for some reason, StreamYard did its own thing, and I had to go through a process of figuring it out. And I'm glad that I did, because now I know if it happens again. And it wasn't just you. There were several other people.
Oh, good. I thought my black baby doll Jesus story kind of freaked everybody out.
No, it didn't. Well, maybe it did a little, but
I blocked it out. I actually have no idea what you're talking about, and I'm not sure I want an encore.
I remember. What can we do for you?
Okay.
I am curious on two things. I just watched the Netflix.
Well, I think she's. Let me see. Hold on.
Must have been that doll. I'm sorry. It was like Trilogy of Terror, like it came with a little blade or something. What the hell? You remember that movie?
Yeah, unfortunately, I do. Where did she go? I think did she drop? No, she's still there. Lisa, are you there?
Lisa's a narcoleptic.
We're not giving up, Lisa.
Okay. Lisa, wake up! You're thousands of people are watching you.
We'll never give up, Lisa.
Lisa.
This is like the ending scene from Titanic when Jack's getting ready to float away. I'll never let go, but I've got to let go here in a second.
Don't get me started on that movie, because I'm a Titanic buff and I have so many problems with that movie.
I'm also a Titanic buff.
Are you really?
I really am. Yeah, it's like
I've got a little miniature of it, like right here.
the most fascinating story I've ever heard.
It's pretty fascinating. I am generally interested in disasters, which is why I'm here.
Yeah, you bring your own disaster. Lisa, are you there? What happened? Your dog got a hold of you?
What is happening?
I think it's the same story I've ever heard. She came back in.
This is disturbing.
Lisa, are you there? What happened? Lisa.
She's saying she's here, but
Hello?
Hi.
Weird.
Josh, these people have to stop trying to reach us by can and string. Lisa, you got to get. How are you trying to reach us? Spirit box?
Yes. Through my window board.
Satellite phone?
Well, I'm going back to the Netflix.
You were going to say something about Netflix, which makes me think that you were going to ask about the Ed Gein show, right?
Oh, no.
Oh, different Netflix? Wasn't that on Netflix?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was.
Okay, all right, okay. So something else.
It's a documentary about two twin brothers. Are you there?
Yeah, we could. You're really faint, and you kind of keep breaking up. Is there a place you can get better reception? Like on the roof?
Is that better?
Yeah, it is actually.
Where
Wait, now you.
This is the most disturbing thing.
No, it's fun. What about, yeah, that was better. Where are you at now?
Keep that doll away from.
It's not thunder and lightning outside, is there? Because I mean, if you could get on your roof and hold your phone way up.
Is that doll riding a little tricycle?
She left again.
Oh my goodness. Hear me now.
Definitely.
Yeah, turn us down. Can you turn us down in the background?
Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm
You
all
want
over
to-
my house. How's that?
It's good.
Nobody budge.
Okay.
Better.
You know, this is not going to be a very big question now. So twin brothers. One brother lost his memory. The other brother gave him a gift of erasing horrific pedophilia from his mother. And the mother also, you know, trafficked them to her male friend for no money. What is the psychology for that mother's gratification?
I think you have to type your question because it sounds like you're calling from like the deep sea. Like it actually sounds like you're calling from a lobster pot.
Yeah, I think. I think
Maybe you can type the message out. Is that possible? Is it possible to type underwater? Doesn't it
Yes.
sound underwater, Josh?
yeah. Well, every other word keeps going in.
It's like blah, 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 blah. Yeah, unfortunately, you're going to have to type it. I hope that it's going to work, though.
Yeah, I mean, if she types it, it'll be fine.
Yeah, just type it up. Are we going to hear the typity type or the water?
Probably not. No. But Lisa, stay in the studio, type the question, and then we'll come back to it.
Yeah, but it's nice to have you around. I mean, I just wish
we're gonna get it. We're gonna get it.
We're on land. The land. All right. So
stay in the chat. We'll get it. All right. Kat Randall. Kat, where are you calling from? What state are you calling from? Not where in your home are you calling from?
I'm not underwater.
No, you sound fantastic.
You sound great. You sound like Sylvia Brown.
So, when initially when you know you hear like, hey, call in and you have a question and you it's like, okay, well, what were you thinking about then? That's not what I'm thinking about now.
Well, what are you thinking about now?
Regrets. I've had a few.
Then again, too few to mention.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if you want to talk about regrets, I mean,
you want to talk about regrets? I knew a guy that owned 13 Bitcoin in 2017 and sold them all for pennies on the dollar.
Seriously?
Yeah, it was funny.
Things like that happen.
Sure do.
But Lisa's regretting buying that submarine.
It's a U-boat.
I mean, she may be happy in that underwater. Yeah. That may be the best place. Because it's like, okay, I can't contact the outside world.
Okay.
The outside world sucks.
You sound like an interesting person to have a cup of coffee with.
Yeah, Kat's great. So what? You got a question, Kat?
Well, yeah, I was thinking about the pumpkins. I was like, yeah, you missed out on carving pumpkins.
Yeah, we were supposed to carve. I was on a friend's show last night, and they were carving pumpkins, and it looked like a lot of fun.
So how you doing? I mean, you're all right with that? Like,
talking about pumpkins?
I mean, I've got pet rocks. I've got pumpkins. I mean, I got all kinds of little projects, little things around the house. I mean, are you doing all right? I mean,
yeah, I'm great, man.
All right.
What about you?
So I forgot where even this started. So what was my question initially?
I don't know.
I have no idea what's going on. I'm
Regrets.
waiting for Rod Serling to come out and just explain everything to me. What is happening? I have no idea. Underwater people, pumpkins, the pet rocks, the Frank Sinatra quotes. I don't know what's going on, but let's try to.
I planned each charted course You know, it's
That's another thing.
He really sound like Sylvia Brown.
He likes to sing a lot. Okay, so
all right.
Yeah.
Ask a question. Put me in a direction. I'll ask a question.
no, you got to ask the question.
Okay.
All right, I'll point you in a direction. So yeah, it gets cold, and then I mean, what? All right, all right. So you've got a lot of things with ladies in here. So you got a lot of feminine energy.
We have less feminine energy now, Kat. We'll talk to you later about it. Joey H, go ahead. You're on the air.
I don't know what's going on, man. All right, the audience asked if everybody is stoned.
Joey H, go ahead. Man, this is rough right now. What is going on?
I don't know.
You there, Joey?
Maybe Doge slashed all the staff.
Something's happening, dude. Every time around Halloween, things get weird, don't they?
I know, that's what's great. Maybe we should ask people to call in with their real paranormal experiences.
No, thank you. We're having those right now.
Interesting. Joey says he's talking, but he isn't here. Lisa's underwater. I don't know what's happening.
Okay, here we go. Joey, are you there? Okay. Melanie, go ahead. You're on the air. We'll come back to you, Joey. Make sure to unmute your mics. Okay.
Okay.
Are you there? Melissa, go ahead.
Okay.
I'm here. Does that sound normal?
Yeah, you do. We can count on Melissa.
I always like the name Melissa. I think it means honeybee, right?
It does. Yes, it's Greek. Yeah.
Have you ever been haunted by anything?
No, I'm just a normal person. I'm not underwater in a U-boat or anything like that. I think
Have you ever been haunted by anything? What is that supposed to mean?
Can you
Josh,
feel?
I didn't know that you were 6'2" till tonight, so I don't know why. I didn't know you were tall. So
People think I'm short. I don't know. I don't know why.
I don't know. Maybe it's just the way you're sitting in your chair or something. I didn't think you were like short, but I mean, I didn't think you were 6'2". So yeah, learn something new every time, right?
You definitely do.
So
Am I even here? Am I a person here?
you are Gary, and
Thank
I was gonna say both of you all are Titanic buffs, right?
Yep.
So this wasn't on my question list, but if you're ever in Tennessee, they have the Titanic exhibit. Have y'all ever seen it or heard of it?
Well, it rotates.
This one is there all the time. Like I think
that's
there's
not
more
what I
of them.
thought. I
Yeah,
thought
it's like built there, and it's ginormous. So, and when you go onto into it, you get a name of one of the passengers that was on the Titanic. You get to view you go through it. It's got the water that was the temperature that the water was that they went into. And then when you come out of it, you find out whether you lived or you died. So pretty cool. It's a pretty cool thing. Yeah.
I would have pushed Gary right off the side and got into his.
It's very big and very beautiful. It's in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. So if
Well,
you're down there, Gatlinburg.
when I was working at I won't say where, at a hospital, one of the students that was sent to me to be mentored was the grandson of a very famous victim on the Titanic, but I won't say who for privacy reasons. And but like, you would know the name.
Right.
And he was a very, very interesting guy. He looked exactly like his grandfather, which was interesting too, except he didn't have, the facial hair and all that. And I remember
That sounds like the captain. I'm just saying, go ahead.
And what happened is, I'll never forget it. One day he said that he called me up and he said very politely, "Dr. Brucato, I'm not going to be able to come into work next week." And I was like, "That's okay. Is everything okay?" And he said, "I'm going with Robert Ballard in a submarine to go down and see the Titanic. Is that okay?" And I said,
Oh no.
Yes, I think that's okay. That's a good excuse. That was fun, and I was like, what?
Yeah,
Like I
yeah.
would kill. I would kill. I wanted to take me along with you, you know. But
No, you can't go. Remember what happened to that one that went down to see the Titanic? Just
well,
what?
they went in that special, you know, that and it collapsed. It was terrible. But Robert Ballard
Yeah,
found the Titanic, if you remember, and I think he
correct.
documentary or something and wanted to go with surviving family members. But I just thought it was so funny how the
Yeah,
person said it like I have to give an excuse, and
like
then
that was good. Was that going to be a good
right,
enough
that could be a good enough
excuse?
excuse. Yeah, yeah, okay, yes,
That's
fine.
once in a lifetime thing. Yeah, yeah, for
Hilarious.
sure.
But I've had a lot of students that were tied to history in interesting ways, and that was
Yeah.
definitely one of them.
Well, I
Um,
mean, I watched the movie, but I'm not a huge Titanic buff, but we do have that in our area, so I thought I would mention it. But I have been enjoying your piano,
oh,
your
thank you.
channel. And I'm glad to see it's growing. I really enjoyed Shenandoah the other night because
Oh,
I live in Northeast Tennessee, so that's kind of um yeah, I remember, hearing that. And the one from today, I think I commented and put like when it went up tempo towards the end, it was regarding witches and stuff.
well, it was like
I said
A
my
Halloween themed, yeah, right.
yeah, my brain instantly went to which a movie I hadn't seen in like over 20 years. It was called Interview with the Vampire.
Oh, yes, I know.
And
Mhm.
yeah, okay. And the little girl that was the vampire that they had turned, and she could never grow up and she got so angry and she cut all her hair off and she had this huge tantrum. And I said, I instantly thought of that little girl for some reason, like that just like bore into my brain. Like I thought of that when you were playing that. That's that little girl having that tantrum, temper tantrum.
You know,
So,
it's very interesting because I always thought for years that Anne Rice was inspired to write her vampire material because she had a child that slowly died of a blood cancer and
ah,
watched them, sort of turn white with cancer and everything. And but then I asked a figure in the true crime community who you would all know who it is, who was very close with her, and she said she didn't think so. That that that,
okay.
but it just seemed too on the nose, for
Yeah.
but I really I have to tell you psychologically I wouldn't be surprised because if you've ever seen someone die of cancer,
Yes,
uh,
I have. My
I,
father.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can see the resemblance with the
Mm-hmm.
way
Definitely.
vampirized kind of quality, the losing weight, the sinking of the face, the turning white,
Yes.
particularly given that it was a blood uh,
A
part of
blood cancer.
the.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but
So
thank you.
another question. I have another question also, real quick. I'm not going to keep y'all very long because
Oh,
I
that's
have a dentist appointment at 8 o'clock in the morning. So, everybody's favorite place to go is the dentist. So, but anyway, I was gonna say, I thought I was gonna ask you if you'd ever considered doing like on the channel, like doing a cameo for not a, I don't know if you call it a cameo, but you playing something that someone would love. Like say my husband loves Jackson Brown,
mhm.
the loadout, the song The Loadout, and then it goes into Stay.
Oh,
That is his favorite song, and he listens to it a lot. And I was like, yeah, I wonder if that could be something that Dr. Gary could start doing.
well, I was thinking about just as a way to generate some additional tips there. I was thinking about doing a thing where a person for a fixed amount, like I could write an original piece specifically about whatever they're asking me to.
Oh, that would be cool. Yeah.
Thinking about that, and I was also thinking about taking requests like that.
Yeah.
I happen to like Jackson Brown also. I
I'll
probably would.
have to buy you more coffee then. Sorry.
Oh, thank you. If you have it, I really. I was.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've bought you a few, so, so
Oh, thank you so much. I don't get
yeah.
to thank the people because it doesn't give me a way to write them back.
Oh, that's okay. No
That's
problem.
so kind. I wanted to cover These Days, which is a song that I love very much. But so let me know if write me and let me know what you have in mind, and we'll see if I can help
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one of his favorite songs, probably his favorite song. So,
Okay.
it would be cool, and I could show him, and then I also said my grandson, who's 2, listens to you, and my daughter's very strict with him. He just turned 2, and the child has never seen a Disney movie. He's never seen a video on a phone. I mean, she's extremely strict, and I mean, all of his um play and everything is hands on and all that. So the only time he gets to see on the phone is if we FaceTime, like grandma and grandpa FaceTime him, you know. But so when he was watching you, I let him watch you play the piano
Oh,
the other night, and he was just like, his little eyes were just like glued to the screen and watching you play. And so
oh.
but yeah, so it
Well,
was really sweet.
that's very, very that's very sweet of you, and I can't tell you how much it means to me. You know, I'll be honest that the thing that's been hard for me about it is that, you know, people don't realize that my personality sort of is like on the cusp of being like hyper analytical and very intuitive and kind of emotional, right? Like I'm sort of I easily could have been an artist, right? I was talking earlier about
Yes.
having won an art prize as a kid and stuff, and or I could have gone the route of being something as scientific as a paleontologist or an entomologist or a
Yeah.
horticulturalist or something like that. I'm sort of right there, right between.
Mhm.
And what I find is that writing those pieces is sort of like turning yourself inside out a little bit.
Yeah.
Joey H said I should be an exorcist. Right there, you go. It's sort of like turning yourself inside out, and there is something about it that can be very bummy because you sort of show that, and then the reaction is just like, you know, people can't relate to it, or they don't understand it, or you know, or like it feels sort of weird, like somebody would be like, "Here's a buck," you know, and you've like
Uh,
turned yourself inside.
yeah, like I read your comment on the like, hey, $5 tip is like, you know, and I was like, oh gosh, yeah, that's, I
No,
mean, you know,
it just feels like sort of selling yourself. If you
yeah, I agree. I agree. You
feels cheap.
can't buy coffee for $5 or $10,
Oh,
that's
it's
for
nothing to do with
sure.
that. It's not the
But
stuff.
I agree with what you're
It's
saying.
the
Yeah.
idea of putting yourself for sale in some way, and you
Yes.
know, and it makes me think of people I know that are artists who, you know, like for example, they'll pour their whole soul, like in a Joni Mitchell kind of way, into their music, right? Very
Hmm.
confessional and kind of, and you know, the paradox of that kind of music is that it's like very confessional and private, but everyone relates to it because they all have
Hmm.
that private experience, right? And then what happens is like someone will give you a contract and say, okay, great, write 20 songs of this caliber, you know, by this date, and we will publish it and you'll get rich. And you're like, what? Like, I can't
Yeah.
turn myself inside out like that on demand.
Right.
So that's it's an interesting thing. It's the first time that I've ever really taken some artistic thing that I do, at least in any recent year, and put it into the public space, and it feels
Hmm.
very naked and kind of weird.
Can you play my milkshake by Khalees
Oh my gosh.
on the piano?
I
I
can't.
could actually imagine turning that into a slow piece, and
I'm sure he could play it, Josh. It's will he play it? That's
Oh, he'll play it. He'll play it.
oh my goodness.
Is it,
Look,
is it something like
that's the one about bringing
"Mark
all the boys to the yard. That one.
Yeah.
to the yard and they're like, it's better than yours."
It'll be a very different version if he does it for sure.
Sometimes Josh makes me wish I had a big sock with horse manure in it that I could just like swing across the screen
And
and
Yeah.
into the
Like,
says to me.
kick him in the
But,
head.
but it would be no. But the other thing that's very interesting is the way that the people read into the like their own personal thing into what you the
Yeah.
music, and they sort of project their own stuff into it. So that's sort of interesting too.
Yeah.
You're always
Yeah, I
gonna
like reading the comments. I like reading the comments and seeing what everyone else was thinking, you know, when they
right.
were listening to that. So
Well,
um
you know, we always, whenever there's a murky kind of thing, like the unconscious, right? Like the
mhm.
ocean. like a liquid kind of a murky thing. People always sort of see themselves in it, and
Yeah.
like when E. Cummings said, "For whatever we lose, like a you or a me, it's always ourselves we find in the sea." And that's kind of what happens. You show someone some murky lyrics, and next thing you know, they've interpreted that you're talking about some experience they've had, or they would. So I could just imagine how that happens to noted artists that have millions of followers, and people
Yeah.
these very personal kind of relationships. They feel as if you're singing directly to them. I remember when I met Tori Amos, a singer I like very much. I've attended so many concerts of Tori Amos, it's ridiculous. And I remember when I met her, I said, sometimes when I listen to you, it almost feels as if you're singing directly to me, like directly to my heart,
Hmm.
And I think that's how a lot of musicians are. Do you have a musician like that feels like they're like reaching across space and just kind of saying,
Me personally,
yeah,
yes, I have one person that
mhm.
so I'm in '80s. I grew up
Sure,
I
sure,
was a teen in the '80s, okay? So lots of rock ballads and things like that, but I was a very, very big Steve Perry fan.
oh,
Um, and so I mean, I have a dog named Journey, so that tells you one Journey and one Duran. So
I'm gonna get a lighter and we're gonna just, yeah, right.
yeah, we're gonna lie
Josh
again.
and I are gonna
Yeah,
wave.
get your ladder going. But I've always loved Steve Perry, and when he kind of went, off, not honestly off the grid, but he went, you know, just kind of within himself after he left, and then he found love, and then his love died in like a year. She had cancer. He met her when she had cancer, and they were together a year, and it came back, and I think they were only together just that short time, and then she passed away. And I think the last thing that she said in an interview I saw with him was that she had made him promise that he wouldn't go, and like be introverted, basically stay inside, didn't go anywhere again. So but I just always loved his voice, and seeing
Yeah.
him now at his age, which I think he's in his early 80s, maybe. He's getting up there, and
Mm.
he always puts out Christmas music. He's got a YouTube channel, and he does beautiful Christmas music and
Mhm.
stuff. So,
Well, I think that's beautiful. I mean, how
yeah,
about you, Josh? Do you have a singer that really feels like they get you? I'm waiting for
I used to
some.
really be into Cisco a long time ago.
Do you mean that seriously, or is there some joke coming?
Nah, Cisco. I liked Cisco.
Really? Any particular song that's worth listening to have an X-ray of your soul?
I mean, I was gonna say, uh, I think there's a song. It's a song called "Without You," but the thong song was particularly good too. But the song "Without You" by Cisco is pretty good. I like that song.
yeah.
But no, I don't think so. I mean, um, I don't. I like well, I don't know. It's something I'd have to think about.
I think for a female singer, I think Stevie Nicks to me speaks to me. I love her music, and I think she's got the best. Like she's just got a haunting voice, and I love her. I always loved her.
Absolutely. And what about Kate Bush? I swear I would marry Kate Bush.
Yeah,
Was available for marriage.
available. Marker, check
I
that box.
love
Check
Kate.
that box.
And I don't just mean, since Stranger Things put her back on the radar. I mean,
I
I
have
love,
not watched Stranger Things, but my one of my daughters is like
and I
just
love.
waiting for the last season to come out, and so
No, but
she
Kate Bush is just
she
a unique
loves it.
When
soul.
my first
Oh,
my first serious girlfriend moved away, I was 17, and
yeah.
she had moved away, and I remember listening to Aerosmith.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Steven
okay.
Tyler. Yeah.
Steven Tyler, and I mean, I was like blaring it. Like I really have always liked Aerosmith, and
Yes.
that song "Angel" that he sang.
Yes.
And
Yes.
yeah, like I thought, like those kind of songs were very moving, and there was a lot of passion and energy in them. And I like those kind of songs. But I don't know. I'm so all over the place with music. It's
Oh, me too. Yeah, I like it I like the 70s music. I like some of
Sure.
the older, even older than that, but
I
I
like that you
definitely
say
love
that.
the 80s.
That's old. I have recordings here, similar recordings of music hall musicians from the turn of the century.
I know that. Yeah.
The 20s and the 30s are my favorite period of music. That's hysterical to me. But
I
okay, old. That's
no,
really.
no,
But
I don't mean. I mean, I have listened to music that is that from that era, I should say.
good.
But as far as like just listening music, like when I'm trying to, so I mean, I'm not an artist in any state like you are. But so I do nails for a living, or not for a living, but that's what my channel is. So
Uh,
yeah, so to come up with something creative, I usually turn on music.
uh,
So I turn on something that is gonna like kind of
I think that's amazing. I will
yeah.
make a
So
recommendation to you and to the audience, Beth. If you go on YouTube,
oh god,
somebody took the Kate Bush song "Among Angels,"
uh-huh.
created a cartoon to accompany it that is about a little girl whose father vanishes. I mean, you're supposed to think he died. And it's about that she spends her entire life riding her bicycle to the place that he vanished, looking for him, only to discover when she's an old woman that he's been in the field waiting for her to take her to heaven when she died.
Oh,
And then the song, which has these incredible lyrics that are very spiritually moving. I love the line about the angels shimmering like mirrors in summer, which I just think is a very, very beautiful. Only Kate Bush could come up with that image. But I thought of that line when I visited Versailles in France because it's designed so that everything sort of hits the mirrors and shimmers,
yes.
and it gave me it brought that image up for me, and it was
So now I need to listen to this.
you
So
should
what
listen.
is it's
Very
called
beautiful.
Angel? Is it called Angel
It's called
or
the Angels. But as soon as you
Kate
look
Bush?
on YouTube, you'll see the
Okay.
little like drawing of the person like with the bicycle.
Okay. I
Um,
definitely will go listen to that.
it's very, very moving. I love it very much. Whoever created it was like, it was the perfect marriage of artwork and lyrics. It's brilliant.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my
Yeah.
recommendation. Yeah.
Okay, definitely. Will
Oh, well,
do.
it was a
All
pleasure
right.
to talk to you. You're
Talk,
a very nice
good
person.
talking to you.
For the coffee, that was really
Oh,
kind.
you're welcome. You're
And
very welcome.
happy that
Bye,
you celebrate
Josh,
and
too,
you're
Hi.
as well.
yeah.
And you guys have a great night. I think I'm gonna head to bed before long because I
Oh,
gotta get up early in the morning. So,
Well,
yeah.
good luck with the dentist.
yeah. Oh, it's no big deal. But yeah, it's never my favorite place to go. So,
Like pulling teeth.
yeah. Well, that won't happen tomorrow. But yeah, thankfully. But yeah, it is. Yeah.
All
So,
right.
all right. You guys have a great night.
Yeah, bye bye.
All right. Fantastic. That was a very nice call.
Very nice.
I'm sure that we're going to pay the price for the nice calls. I'm waiting for, the special
Joey
call.
H. Go ahead, Joey.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, I
There
sure
you
can.
are. Sorry about before.
Oh, wow. Great. I signed back in. I don't know. It's like technical difficulties tonight.
We exercise the demons.
Yeah, yeah. Well, hello, Father Karras. Hello, Josh. Hello, chat. um, so listen, the theme of tonight will have to do once again with evil because of your book. I'm paying homage to your book.
Okay, thank you. I saw your Amazon review.
Okay, so this will be my last one. After this, I want to talk about lighter things like spontaneous combustion and UFOs. But I want to do one more on evil.
Lighter things or things caused by lighters?
Yeah, right. Oh, and I always recommend a movie and a book. So I want to recommend the documentary Oklahoma City by Barack Goodman, and I
Yes.
want to recommend Blowback by Chalmers Johnson. The Cost and Consequences of American Empire, and then I want to recommend the book Carrie by Stephen King, which is very different than the movie. It's really in depth.
Thrown out, and his wife fished out of the trash.
Yes, yeah.
When I met Piper Laurie, who was one of my favorite actresses, when I met her, it was very funny. She was much older, and I was getting her to sign some pictures as Margaret White because I love the character, right, of Margaret White. And I was trying to get her to write quotes from the movie, and she kept telling me she had no idea what I was talking about. You know, like when somebody is so much older, and I was like, "Why don't you write, like, the dirty pillows, or like one of those, or these are wicked times." What she just didn't know what I was talking about. Say it, like she didn't understand. But
right.
she was sort of losing her hearing and everything. But she was fantastic in that. They really dug her out of obscurity to play that role.
Before I ask my evil question, or my question about evil, that Koch thing was wild, because Mayor Koch was a very much I'm a movie guy. He was a cinephile.
Yes,
and it was like in 1999. I went to this really esoteric theater called the Quad in New York City. I went to see a very indie, dumb vampire flick. This guy, Mayor Koch, came in with a bodyguard, sat down. He snored throughout the whole movie, but he still came to this little mom and pop indie theater to see a movie. He was truly a cinephile. I could not believe he sat right in front of me and he fell asleep and snored. Say it again?
If you took him and a vampire and merged them,
interesting.
I think you'd have Stephen Miller.
Interesting.
He sort of looks like a vampire mixed with Ed Koch. I'm not kidding. Isn't that interesting?
Oh, Jesus.
His bodyguard, man, that guy was like 3 feet tall, Koch, and the bodyguard he beat Josh. This guy was like 7 foot tall, but he actually watched the movie, and Koch, he fell asleep. He slept through it, and I don't blame him. It was not a great movie.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to ask you something that's not included in your book of evil, although it's the new evil, right? I don't know. This is an old evil I want to ask you about.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about the theme of evil fermenting evil, well-meant institutional evil. And I want to steer away from
that grammar school.
I want to steer away from partisan politics. So I want to be very clear to you in the chat and everything. I don't want to go red, blue, green, purple. I just want to bring up a theme about evil and government, and not just about United States government, governments in general, governments intervening in situations that perhaps they go into this situation with a well-meant, but yet what happens is almost like the road to hell is paved with good intentions, government interventions, coups, wagging the dog, false flags. So let me be specific here and shut my mouth. So basically, the Oklahoma City bombing. If one could hit rewind, someone could go back all the way to Ruby Ridge. Are you guys familiar with the Ruby Ridge situation in Idaho? Right. So and also I want to not forget to bring up, because you guys were talking about music, Frank Zappa kind of experienced the same kind of institutional evil, because in 1965 Frank Zappa was entrapped by the police department by having someone pose as a fan of his and ask him to do like a stag audio recording. He did it, and then they arrested him. They put him in jail. And kind of the same thing happened with Ruby Ridge and Randy Weaver, where they posed as people as part of this gathering he was a part of, and they asked him if he had any guns, sawed-off shotguns. He said, "Oh yeah, I could saw off a gun for you." And they entrapped him, and then there was a shootout for multiple days. His wife was murdered. His child was murdered. Ultimately, the United States government actually had to paid them. He was awarded $3.1 million. The United States government paid him and his family for those deaths under the conditions that the United States government would not. The government, let's keep it broad. This government would not admit wrongdoing or legal liability. So in summary, not just our government, but all governments across the board intervening with other governments, doing these types of intervention, these coups. Would that be considered evil, Dr. Gary? Isn't that basically evil? Because what happened with Weaver, one could say they went in there with good intentions to stop a separatist group, perhaps to stop when they went into Waco. There's children there, there's all these weapons, and then the ATF go in there, and before you know it, the whole place is torched to the ground. Timothy McVeigh is outraged as a military guy, and then he blows up the building in Oklahoma, the Murrah building. Wouldn't that be evil? Evil sort of fermenting evil in a way? I want to shut up and hear what you have to say about that.
It's very complicated because you have to remember that I have absolutely no interest in the subject of evil that is not personal cause. What I write about and have contributed to in terms of the literature is the kind of thing that is done by an individual when it is not wartime. The whole point is that if you tortured a person and you were a medieval king, it would be very different than torturing a person in your basement, in the Midwest, because you're a sexual sadist. Doing things in the context of war or politics, whatever, the evil of that is not in question. It's just that it's not my area. I'm not interested in those things in terms of my own scholarship. But I think that you have to remember that behind those acts are often individuals with the same characterological problems and horrendous motives of the people who do them in the small scale. For
Timothy
example,
McVeigh, you would say
right,
you would
exactly.
Timothy McVeigh in that category?
Well, this is complicated because there are some people who are personal cause, but they sort of coat what they do in a kind of panache of that it's part of a wider cause. So, for example, when Omar Martin shot up the Pulse nightclub, and Al Qaeda, I think it was, or ISIS, took credit for it to try to elevate it as if it was some, anti-gay kind of terrorist thing. It changed it from a personal cause thing to something that leaves the area which is of interest to me in terms of scholarship. But if we say, well, they just took credit for it, it was a personal cause thing. See, then you have to ask yourself what the real motive is. So there are cases like that. Like, for example, if you really believe that that Kaczynski was some kind of environmental warrior, and that's why he did what he did purely, then he sort of starts leaving the realm of the personal cause and going more into the realm of people that think they're part of a kind of environmental army. For example, a mafioso is a good example. If you're a hitman for the mob, are you an individual offender, or are you part of somebody that sees himself as part of an army or a group or a gang?
But Gary, those are extremes of an individual. Basically, it's very clear that Kaczynski had mental health issues. But someone like Henry Kissinger and Pinochet and potentially assisting in some kind of coup. I mean, Henry Kissinger would be a politician. So how about politicians?
As a psychologist, I can't discuss them. You have to understand that there are ethical rules surrounding mental health professionals discussing the morality or mental health of political figures. So we don't do it. Like, I wouldn't answer that question even if I had an answer to it, because it's against our ethical guidelines. The reality is that mental health professionals should not be talking about whether a person is disturbed or, losing their, if they're demented or they're whatever, but privately, I'm sure a lot of them pointed out. So in other words, what you're picking up on is the idea that on an individual level, a lot of these people who do things on a large level are really psychopathic or narcissistic or sadistic people that get into power and then play it out on a larger scale. So you can make the argument, for example, that there are some world leaders throughout history who have basically been in a gigantic abuse dynamic with their country, right? Everybody in the country is acting like the people in a DV situation, right? So you take the small scale, you make it, a cult, for example, operates in the same way as an abuse dynamic, where you love bomb and you isolate and you gaslight and you do all the same stuff. You just do it in a large scale. So I think what you're picking up on is that the transition to doing things in the large scale is interesting because it takes at a certain level the personal cause, but then you sort of magnify, you turn it into a larger scale thing. And I think that's interesting. For example, you could think of this podcast as a conversation between friends that is being passed through a gigantic megaphone. So now what is it? Is it a conversation between us and like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people? Has it continued to be a conversation between friends, or is it something different? It's an interesting question. So, but I think that what you're picking up on is, yeah, if you take these large-scale non-personal cause matters, it is interesting to apply to them the questions of personality, organization, and motive, but they leave the realm of the scholarship that I engage in because I'm more interested in the individuals that do things for personal reasons. And I don't talk about. That's why, for example, I didn't talk about the Charlie Kirk matter. I don't discuss those things because it's not really ethical for psychology.
But again, I started off trying to be clear, not about partisan politics, and also about institutional evil.
It can't be separated, in my opinion.
But
possible.
I want to. Well, I want to say this whole idea was spurred by the last live show that Josh had, which was remarkable. And Josh had a conversation about false allegations and institutions or individuals sort of making a false allegation that basically tars and feathers an individual for the rest of their life. This individual for the rest of their life can't really regain a scorned reputation, and it really it haunted me. I lost sleep when I heard that conversation, and I would like to hear what you have to say about it. Yeah.
What you're saying is important because remember that when Michael Stone and I wrote The New Evil, the whole point we were making is that evil, instead of talking about it as a thing like the person is evil, what we're talking about is the reaction that people have looking at it. That the reason people use that word is because they look at an action and cannot relate to it as a human being in terms of motive. The more they cannot relate to it and understand it, the higher it gets on the scale. You understand? So the average person can understand like jealousy or anger, killing somebody because you flipped out because you walked in on them with your love, the love of your life, that kind of thing. But they can't understand a person who drives around picking up petite brunettes to bring home to their house to torture to death because they're playing out a sex fantasy. They don't understand that. So it's evil. See, that the idea is that word is reserved for things that are extra, beyond, so horrendous, universally understood to be horrendous and beyond any understanding of human motive that we apply that word. And that can be said about some things that happen politically. Absolutely. I mean, death camps. I mean, you see what I'm saying? I mean, of course. But the thing is, I don't discuss them because I am interested in personal cause. But if you're going to ask me, like, was it evil that, people will put in death camps in the Third Reich? Of course. So, but that's what happens when an individual who has horrendous personality problems and morality issues, gets power. But then you start getting into an area I'm not going to get into. But do not think for a minute that the people in charge are not human beings that are capable of having disturbed motives and personality structures. That's just the way that it is. There's a reason, Charles Manson isn't given, power. He wasn't given power, right? Outside of a cult. So, it's a very, very interesting question. And I'm going to resist turning it into any kind of discussion of partisan politics, and I'm going to resist saying anything that I'd regret later. I will simply say I think you are correct that it is extremely hard to tease them apart, but that I put my focus on the cases that are personal cause.
Do you still resist becoming an exorcist in the future?
Well,
you gotta believe. You have to believe in exorcism. You studied. I mean, you come on. You went to seminary school. You believe in evil.
Yeah.
Do you feel that there have been no true exorcisms? Curious.
That's complicated. There are cases that I'm aware of that are extremely difficult to explain. But there's a wonderful book. There's a wonderful, wonderful book called The Penguin Book of Exorcisms. And it contains a lot of news stories and case reports and things of these very, very difficult to explain cases. Of course, the best book ever written on that subject was Osterreich's book on demonic possession, which made a big comeback when The Exorcist came back. They reissued it in hardcover with the Zuzu statue on the cover. But it was a very serious attempt to understand what the heck that phenomenon is. But I'll give you an example. One of the colleagues that I went to school with, I won't identify her, but she had spent some time in Africa, in the missions, and a lot of this stuff happens in third world countries, so-called third world countries. And she.
What do you mean by so-called third world countries?
Because I don't care for that. I don't like the
I was just curious.
ranking nations like that. But I mean, as far as I'm concerned, people are equally valuable. And
are we talking about more about like resources of the country? And
I understand, but I think that the term suggesting that the people of the nation have a different, are of less importance, and I'm not interested in that. So, but anyway, so that they told me that they had spent time in this place in I think it was East Africa, and they visited a kind of tribal authority who introduced them to a chief of a tribe. And they said that there was a little boy whose face had become hideously deformed, and he was speaking in gibberish and kind of walking around with a limp. And so they called for some member of the family to come from like the other side of the continent to see what was going on. And when he got there, he said, "I understand what he's saying. He's speaking in the dialect of his deceased grandfather who walked with that limp and sounded like that." And the boy had never met him, had never been exposed to the language, had never met that grandfather, and certainly didn't know how he walked. And so they exorcised him. And I'm aware of a lot of stories like that. I just don't talk about them. But I've had people come to me in clinical settings and tell me stories that are very, very difficult to understand. I just don't get judgmental about it. People have spiritual experiences that are very disturbing. And, and there are a lot of charlatans and people who take advantage of people who buy whole hog into that stuff. But I'm telling you, if you take a scientific approach to it, there is some stuff that is just too difficult to explain. And I just sort of, I don't judge people for it. I am aware of some really disturbing stuff. I try to take a kind of Jungian approach to things where I'm open to people who have spirituality and these kinds of experiences. But you know that every diocese has an exorcist in the Catholic Church. You know that 99% of the cases are mental health related, and then there's 1% that you can't explain. Well, I didn't become a priest.
Exactly.
I know, but you could just start like business only, and I could be your partner, and like I could
or something. Yeah,
I was baptized Catholic, and
were you?
Yeah, at a very, very young age.
Interesting.
I think me and the entire chat summoned you guys tonight, Sunday night. Me and the entire chat wanted you guys to appear, and you guys showed up.
We showed up.
Yeah. Have you ever, Joey? Have you ever had a paranormal experience?
I have.
Yeah. You want to tell us about it?
I mean, we're talking subtle. It's it's more of the main one I will tell you about that I've had, and it's happened on 2 or 3 different occasions, is when someone close to me has passed away and died, and I've had a apparition in a dream that I would 100% I to this day know it was them. These particular people. My mother has never visited me. I was at her deathbed. She died of cancer. I watched her be murdered by cancer. I haven't had a visit from her. I don't think I needed one. I don't need one, but I have had other visits. And I'll tell you one main one that was wild was my best friend in college. He took his life. He committed suicide at the final year of college. And we went to his to the funeral, and then he was and the whole group of friends, we stayed the night at this particular house that we all would hang out at. And in the middle of the night, about maybe 2:30, 3 in the morning, the radio comes on full blast with this with this album that he loved, which was Jim Morrison. After he passed away, he did an album called American Prayer, where they put an album called American Prayer. And the album starts, you cannot, wake up. It says, wake up. Wake up. You cannot petition the Lord with prayer. I mean, we're talking volume 10, but it was freaking weird. But I've had little things here and there. I think everybody has experienced something. There's something bigger out there. I don't think I need a exorcism from Dr. Gary Brucato yet, but it's coming, man.
Hey,
it's coming.
Look, I've had a paranormal experience, and I'm not kidding. I had a bag of Famous Amos cookies, and I was eating. It was one of the small ones, right? And I kept, it was 1, 2, 3, and they just kept coming. Like there was a never-ending bag. I don't know how long it went on for. It went on for a while.
Wow.
That's a very kooky story.
Joey, thank you so much for your
I love you guys. I love you, chat. Bye-bye.
Take care, brother. Joey's
that was a crummy story. No, but seriously, is that a true story, Josh? The multiplication of your cookies?
It felt like that the bag was supposed to run out. I'd had a couple of bags of Famous Amos's before. And every time I'd be like, oh, I think that's the last one. I'd reach in and there was another one. That went on for just like a little while. So.
But we were speaking earlier about Sylvia Browne. I was joking about her. For some reason, she's making like a big comeback, like on social media. I think because her son is now kind of going around doing some, but at least I think he is. But what do you think about, like, let's say, like a lot of people, you were to take the interpretation that she was not telling the truth, right? Like you thought she was something of a charlatan or something. I'm not saying one way or another. Like the way that James Randi, the magician who became a debunker of the paranormal, used to challenge her and find a lot of fault with her. Well, and I don't just mean her Wolverine nails. What do you think about people who are charlatans that take advantage of people that are victims of crime? I mean, if she was a charlatan, and I don't, I'm not saying what I think about it, she would tell people that their kid was dead, and then the kid would surface.
Yeah.
I mean, she would, you know what I'm saying? I mean, there were people who like gave opinions, psychics who gave opinions on the case in Aruba, the Natalie Holloway case.
I think
things like that. I mean, what do you think about that?
I think that there are people that have extraordinary gifts that can't be explained. And I think that there are more people that pretend that they do. So that way, the people that actually have those gifts are diluted and not taken seriously and marginalized. So it's really hard. And I think that Sylvia Browne was one of those.
So you think she was a charlatan?
I mean, I wouldn't say the word charlatan ever.
You think she was a phony?
Yeah, I do.
She was charging like hundreds of dollars an hour to talk to her on the phone. She never let you talk, and her explanations were weird.
That's a terrible, terrible thing for somebody to do.
But she would say things like, let me tell you why you have social anxiety. You were a witch in a former life, and they killed you, like that kind of thing. The person would be like, oh, okay, and, and it was so specific. But what James Randi, and I really encourage people to watch him on YouTube. He's dead now. He was a very, very famous magician who took his gifts of deceiving people through illusionism and showed people how these charlatan people use that stuff to deceive you. And he had a show that people would come on, and he had $1 million check he would carry around in his pocket, and he would give it to anybody who could prove that they actually had a paranormal ability. And he debunked all kinds of people. He was sued all the time. Uri Geller, for example, wanted to strangle him because he was able to sort of outwit Uri Geller, who was a huge celebrity in the 70s and 80s. And he was like an Israeli psychic who could bend spoons. Remember that whole thing? Yeah. Randy figured out how that was done, and so bending keys and the whole thing, which is called ratcheting, where you rub it in advance. All you have to do is touch it and it'll pop off, And and I learned from him a lot of the tricks that are used by fake psychics and palmists, things like that. Houdini also dedicated himself to disproving that stuff. And for example, shotgunning. Shotgunning is where you have a large, you notice a lot of the pseudo psychics have a very large audience on purpose. So then the probability increases that something will be true of one of them. So you say we could do it right now. You could say to the audience, anybody in the audience, I'm getting a message. Someone named John. One of you has a loved one named John who's deceased.
Yeah.
Anybody? And then somebody would raise their hand, and then you make more guesses, and it depends on the idea that people are
You're
not going to remember when you're wrong. They won't remember when you're wrong. Yeah.
You're rendering down to, but
Right.
you start out with a large group. Yeah, I see stuff like that all the time. It's sort of like fortune cookies. They're not really telling your fortune. It's just like you will have a good day in the future. Like, it's very vague and very flimsy type. Because unless you walk out and get hit by a car, you're never going to be able to tell anybody that the fortune cookie lied.
Right. I get funny fortunes though, like haha, good luck, buddy.
Yeah, but that's not a fortune. That's
blank.
something that was said.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that's a common trick. And another one is what's called the rainbow ruse. I think that's the one where if you say everything, one of the things is going to be true. So you go, I'm hearing a person's name starts with A, E, F, L, M, N, and the person will not remember all the wrong ones. They'll remember one of the best things in the world is watch on YouTube. I'm like an ad for YouTube tonight. Watch on YouTube when James Randi goes to Russia to interview two famous psychic sisters and shows them a photo and asks them to guess a certain number of things about the person. And they conclude all these things about him. And it's a photo of Ted Bundy. And they don't know who he is. And they're like, he killed scores of people. And they had said that he was like conscientious and, an upstanding guy. It's just very, very interesting. The way they operate.
Ashley, what about the church guys who sell the holy water on BET? Well, first of all, I haven't watched BET in years, but I was going to buy holy water from the River Jordan on Amazon to actually have an exorcism performed on Otis, and that's a true story. So I'm ambivalent about it, but I think that
what?
I thought that Otis was possessed with something when I first got him. It just turns out that he was a psychotic puppy.
Wow. I have stories like that about exes, but that's another story. So why don't we take another call, Joe?
Oh, okay, you want to move on now? Okay, gotcha. All right. Melanie.
If you want to talk about the possession.
Melanie, I've talked about it 10 times probably before.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe that. Okay. Is it easier for you if I turn on my camera to talk to someone or does it matter? I think I'm kind of camera shy and I won't be able to. I don't know. Either way, what would you prefer it was on?
No.
No one else can see me, correct?
Nobody can see you.
All right. Okay, so my question, and thank you for having a platform to where I can talk about this because I haven't.
What's your name?
My name is Melanie, and I'm from Utah.
Okay.
And I had an experience, and I'd like to know. I'm sorry, it's maybe a lag. So when I'm talking and you're talking, it's like I gotta wait a minute. When I
sorry, forgive me. I'll just stop talking so there's no.
I'm so sorry. I don't know where to start this, but my background, I've had an education, I've had a career, I've gone to college, I have raised great kids, had nothing dramatic happen to me ever in my life, or traumatic, excuse me. And I didn't have a relationship with my mother ever. It was always my father, and so I was estranged from her for 20 years. And I'm the oldest, and I have like 6 brothers and sisters that were always close to her. And so people would tell me throughout my life, when something happens to your mom, you're going to regret not talking to her. And so, because I did not talk to them for 25 years, my parents. And my youngest daughter, she's 25 years old, so they never really, they saw her a couple times, but at that point, it was just my choice, and it was better for me. So people would tell me throughout my life, if something happens to your mom, you're never going to get over not talking to her, and I'm like, no, I'm not. Long story short, a couple of years ago, my son, I have 3 kids. My oldest is 39. My son is almost 30, and my youngest is 25. So my son's wife, she passed away from cancer at the age of 26, just a couple of years ago. Well, a year ago, but she was diagnosed 3 years ago. They had 4 young babies, and so my son was that. I think I was trying to diagnose myself. I'm going to get to the point. They had 3 young babies. One was 1 year old when she passed away. And I'm really close to my kids. And so I'm thinking, okay, this is maybe where this happened when I get to what happened to me. Then my mom, I actually started speaking to my mother and father again for the very first time after the 25 years, during the time my son's wife was diagnosed with cancer, because I think we had gotten, we're older now and we're grown-ups, and it was just, how is your son's wife and what's going on with her? And we just started talking like, nothing happened. We just talking like normal people. And about after talking to my mom for 6 months, she became ill. And I only saw her one time in that 25 years. I went over and visited her, and she looked awesome and wonderful. And after me and my daughter, my youngest one, left their house, she's like, oh, your parents are so awesome and beautiful and wonderful. My mother got sick. And now this is where it's kind of affecting me. I want to know what happened, because people would say it's going to affect you and blah, blah, blah. In also that time, my best friend of 30 years who I lived with died. My beloved animal died. My son's wife died. And my father sent me a video of my mother, and this was in it was the end of COVID. It was like, I don't know, it was past COVID, but for some reason her symptoms were, she had a cough for a year. He sent me a video of her, and we had just seen her like 6 months before that. My daughter was like, wow. And she looked like a skeleton. And this is reason why I'm talking about this is where it all began, what happened to me. Because people say, when did this happen? It was almost a temporary psychosis episode. It lasted a year. I've looked things up online where they say, oh, a drug-induced something. No. Or a traumatic thing. Yeah, or that would last a couple months. But this lasted pretty much a year. And it started when I saw the video of my mother. And my dad said, you might want to come and say goodbye to her, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, I started to believe every single thing in my life was, I was paranoid. I thought people in the TV could see me. I thought everyone was in disguise when I would go anywhere. I thought I don't want to get emotional. I thought my grandchildren were AI robots. It was so severe. And I've never had any type of thought or something like that in my life. And when I was at my son's wife's funeral, which was a year ago, well, it was about a year and a half ago, because they all stopped, thank God. I thought she was not real. I thought everyone was wearing a certain color. I thought that the thing that my father had sent me of my mother was not real, and they were trying to. And so in my head, as I'm going through this, trying to diagnose it, and my kids watching me, they're like, you need to see a doctor. And I'm like, why? So they can tell me and they can be in on it. It was so severe. I was walking up on the mountain one night thinking it was going to be a hologram and I could jump right off it. This lasted for a year. And for some reason, I've never had anything like that, but it lasted for the whole year. I do realize all this stuff really did happen. But is there a condition where maybe, do you think it was maybe all the trauma that can it cause that kind of a severe?
You have to understand, I have an answer to this question, but I'm not going to give that here because I can't have a clinical conversation like that publicly. That would be we would have to talk about privately.
That's one thing I'd like to do.
I'm only going to say, we cannot have any kind of clinical discussion. I will only say that, and I really appreciate what you're describing. I just want to say that I'm going to say in general terms that when it comes to mourning and grief, it has a way of amplifying whatever it is that is present in an individual already. So if an individual has a certain personality, it gets magnified. If a person's depressive, they get depressed. If they're obsessive, they can become more OCD. If they have, etc. And so, because it all has to do with a person's kind of biological stuff and personality and coping mechanisms are going to be there, for a long time. And then an event comes and sort of slams into a person. It can magnify or bring about things. And so I'm saying that in general terms, not about you. But I do think that it is important when people are mourning to kind of understand that, like, all bets are off when it comes to what can happen to people, because that is just one of these things. If it's bad enough, that can completely destroy a person's ability to cope with life itself. So, for example, all of us have, like, a person, I hope we have a person in our life that, like, we can understand the death of, like, certain celebrities. We can understand the death of, like, Uncle so-and-so that, like, we rarely see, right? Or who's 100 years old or something like that. But then there's that, like, one person or a couple of people that, like, we cannot even accept the possibility that we could lose them. Like, that there will be a day when we will lose them. I have people like that. There are people that, like, the only way I could, in my brain, allow myself to think about the possibility that I could lose them is through a kind of a delusional lens where I think it's going to be in, like, a million years, when it could be tomorrow. Right? Josh, don't you have people like that?
Absolutely.
Like, you can't
Absolutely.
and and so when you lose such a person, you have to understand, like, it is not on. I mean, I'm not getting into your particular story, but
I understand. Yeah.
the average person, there are certain losses in this world that make it impossible for the person to get through it without a period of just sort of, like, departing, the reality. And
it seems so crazy to me that can actually happen. And
Melanie,
just the fact, I mean, if it's can it be that severe though? Maybe the trauma of.
I'm not, again, I can
Okay.
but I'm not.
I would really like to have an appointment with you and whatever. And
don't go there. Just
okay.
About that but I don't want to talk about that here. Because I want to go inappropriate. But what I will say, and I'm not even discussing whether we're going to discuss having an appointment. None of that. I don't
Correct.
want to,
okay. I got you.
I will say that on the general topic of mourning, people have to cut themselves some slack about when things happen in that context, because it can make each of us kind of lose it. I mean, I'm telling you, there are people that if I lost them, I don't know how I would go on. It would be very, very hard for me to go on.
The thing is, you would. Now, Melanie, I want to say this, and when my mother died many, many years ago, I had a family member that had what was diagnosed as a mental breakdown. I'm not saying that that's what you have or whatever.
Yeah,
I don't want to. Right. We'll talk. I can talk about it over time, but not here.
Hold on. She had a mental breakdown, and that's what she was diagnosed with. And she was a very well put together person, and she overcame it eventually. It took her some time, and she just sort of described it to me as that she was sort of daydreaming and sort of every little impulse and every little thing that would come up, she would overreact to, or sometimes even underreact to.
Not your mother, but it was when your mother passed, this person was close to her, or no?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Very close.
Okay.
And she just had a really tough time in general. And like I said, a very well put together person. And like I said, I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist, and Dr. Gary can't comment on this.
Yeah, right.
I do know what stress and anxiety can do to a person, and it can just be crippling. And yes, it could be intense and it can last a long time. It could last a short time. It's always, I mean, hopefully you saw a doctor.
I didn't, but I understand, where your legality, all the things, and I understand that totally. But I guess my question was, I guess if I have to do it in a roundabout way, was, are there conditions in certain people that are that severe? Well, by the way, I've never uh, shed a tear over my mother's death. I still feel the same way I always have. I loved her, great, but I've never. I wasn't saddened by that. But that's when I noticed. I started thinking something was wrong with me, because this isn't real. This isn't my mom. Even though my son's wife and their babies, and they're 25 years old, and I'm thinking I almost held the trauma for him, because I thought, when she passes away, he's not going to be able to do this. He's going to, do the unaliving himself. He's not going to. And I was holding. I'm like, you're going to be fine. And I thought he's gonna lose it, but he was fine, and I was still fine through that. But because of it was just strange. At the funeral, I started thinking all these things, because the weird things were going on, and I don't know if it was something that was protecting me, my son, or I'm concerned. Are there things that can be that severe because the trauma of it all and the losses? It wasn't that I can handle grief. I can handle loss. I'm a strong person. I've always been that. But maybe because I was so close to my children, my grandchildren, thinking my son's going to flipping lose it, when the girl he's known since he was 12, they get married and she's passing away and they've got 4 children, one's a baby. Like, are there things like that maybe that can cause that if you hold in someone's grief?
I think it's something I'd like to talk about elsewhere, but I will simply say that, of course, there are things that can explain these kind of situations, but I just think that what you're asking is a question that is so personal, it's not appropriate to talk about it here. And we're certainly not going to get to the bottom of it here on a phone call.
Correct.
In public.
Yeah. I debated asking that.
But I do want to say that, being, an empathic human being listening to you, it is heartbreaking to hear this story. And I hope that you've, made some meaning out of, what the heck happened and made your peace with it. How long ago was this?
It hasn't been happening for about a year. But it did happen for 1 full year. And and all the trauma, and it was starting about 3 years ago. So when my mom passed away, and then my son's wife, and then my cat, and then my best friend, that was just true, But then it started slowly, and then it was full blown. Like, it was crazy. My kids were like, "You need to go to a doctor," and just the things. It was so crazy.
Because it's very obvious that your kids love you and they were concerned about you.
Right.
I think that the simple advice of go to a doctor, that's wonderful that they did that, and I hope that it helped you. And I think let's talk about that. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, sounds good. I'm gonna let you guys go on and talk to someone else, but
the topic of mourning and having a reaction to it within the context of who you are biologically, psychologically, etc., is very interesting and important, and my heart goes out to you. That is a lot of loss.
Everybody, I just want to say this. Right. We'll put a bow on this so we can move on, because we really do. We have other calls to take. And Melanie, I appreciate your call.
But I'm sure, Josh, your heart also goes out to the call.
Well, your grief and your experience is unique to you.
Right.
I guess it's scary too, because what the heck? Like, what?
There's no question that it's scary. It absolutely is scary. And like I said, that your grief is unique to you, and we all deal with things differently. Nobody's ever going to have the exact same, grief or experience grief exactly the same as you. Now, there are, I guess you would say, spectrums of it, and losing that many people, or losing somebody that close to you will do that to you. Can do a lot of things biologically to one's brain. I mean, it just can. And I don't know exactly what those things are. It's very scary. And it's a terrible thing. But I will say the best advice that I could give you, and without Dr. Gary, is that if this is something that continues, you must go see a doctor and talk to them, because it's very, very important. And Melanie, I'm sorry, we got to move on, but I appreciate it. And
You sound like a lovely person, and
Yeah.
I you know, and a very special person, and I'm sorry that that happened to you. And you know, but I'm also sorry because, you know, I ache to want to answer you because I want to help, you know, but it's not the place. But I do want to thank you for the call, and you know, so okay, and please forgive, you know, that we have to operate within, you know, guidelines and rules and things, you know, and I'm sure you understand that, right?
She does. Yeah. I got the next cute.
Okay, good. So but you understand, Joshua.
Of course I understand.
A very lovely person.
Very. Deborah, where are you calling from, Deborah?
I'm in Dundas, Ontario. Can you hear me?
Yes, can. Sure can.
Of Ontario.
So my name is Deborah, and I just love this show, Josh, and always look forward to the call-in shows. I don't mean to shift the conversation to crime,
Find conversations where you want to take it.
I'm always interested in what people share. So I'm about 45 minutes west of Toronto, and there have been a couple of crimes that have really been very rattling, as they are when they happen in any community. But two specifically, the colonel, he's not a colonel anymore.
Russell
Williams.
Yes, I just wrote a whole chapter about him for a book.
Did you write it? Did you reference him in The New Evil, Dr. Gary?
I think he is there, but I think so, because Michael Stone and I were both we're both fascinated by that case.
Yes.
But
so I did read The New Evil. I just wanted to say I did read The New Evil right up to the last door. I loved the way you described sort of, here's a door, go no further. If you.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, right. Exactly.
So I think I left off at maybe 2021. Because I knew I didn't want my whole life to change reading the last few.
They're pretty bad. But that's interesting that you say that. But he was a sexually sadistic serial killer who liked to dress up in female attire, what is considered traditionally female attire, while living a double life as a colonel in the Air Force, the Canadian Air Force.
It was just so deeply rattling because I remember when the crimes happened.
Oh.
And I remember when it was announced that he had been arrested.
Right.
And for the colonel of the largest Air Force base in Canada to have been accused of that kind of crime, it was like, what was the how could someone get through the rigorous psychological testing that inevitably would happen in our armed forces as people go from, position to position and sort of move through the ranks?
It surprises you? It's not the kind of thing how do I say this? It's not, he wasn't like schizophrenic or something. You're talking about a person who had sexual, he had a kind of paraphilia where he was, sexually aroused by, strangling women to death. And he, if I'm not mistaken, also engaged in necrophilia, and was interested in the kind of fetishistic behavior of getting turned on by having the texture of women's clothing touch his body. And dressing up a certain way, and although some people take umbrage with the idea of considering cross-dressing to be a fetish, because it starts getting into discussions about gender and so forth. But at the time, that is how he was conceptualized, and in addition, he was kind of a narcissistic kind of a guy, a sadistic, psychopathic, and narcissistic kind of guy. Exactly the kind of guy that would lie and passed through testing very easily. He was very charming, and so he's just a very good example of somebody living a double life. But he is in the book that I did with the Cold Case Foundation, which has not come out yet, and he's also in the one of the chapters I did with some co-authors for Ann Burgess's book on rape investigation. And so, I've written a lot about him, and have edited things that have been written about him, and I know that case very intimately. It's not that shocking. What you're picking up on is the horror of the person living a double life.
Yes.
But that's always how these guys are. I mean, you find out that, the upstanding guy in the office, is a serial killer. I mean, why is that so shocking? It's not the kind of mental illness people think of when they think of Disturbed, right?
Mm-hmm.
They think like, hearing voices or, things like that. But he had character disturbance and paraphilic and fetishistic kind of stuff going on. That's it,
The interview with the detective, and I'm very naive when it comes to this, obviously, and sometimes I find comfort in my.
You don't sound naive to me. You don't sound naive. You're asking in many ways, very sophisticated things. I don't think you're naive at all. Maybe you wish you were, but you're not.
In the interview with Dr. Jim or Detective Jim Smith, when he was initially interviewed and confessed,
right?
His first response was that he wanted to protect his wife, and so I guess that shouldn't be a surprise either. But yeah,
a lot of them say stuff like that. A lot of them say crap like that. It's a way of trying to make yourself look like you're noble. Like you're doing something noble. I mean, are you kidding me? It's
really?
like Israel Keys saying that he wouldn't confess because he didn't want to hurt his daughter. I mean, this is a guy who buried murder kits and came back and got them later and tortured people to death. And but he's Mr. Sensitive when it comes to his, it's like you kind of have to question if they really compartmentalize that much. You know what I mean? I think it's just kind of framed that way to maintain, to bamboozle, to manipulate. You know what I mean? To make yourself look noble. But I mean, Josh, do you believe that stuff?
No, it's funny because I was just thinking about this the other day with the Alex Murdaugh trial when, how he was talking about how he was addicted to pills and all that kind of stuff. And I just never believed that he was. I thought that he used that sort of as just an excuse for his terrible behavior, and that maybe people could sympathize with him because, he was, doing so many pills and like Israel Keys is like, I want to save face for my daughter. And, everybody kind of, they sort of want to have a soft landing, and when in fact, they're just a terrible person who's done terrible things in their lives. And
right. He wanted to manipulate. I mean, Israel Keys wanted to manipulate the way that someone saw him. Like
they all do. They all do that.
Yeah. It's that, I want to keep things kind of cubed.
Correct. Yeah. And the reason that I did this is because, whatever, it's just, they always have instead of getting to the root of it. So yeah, I know what you mean.
Well, right. But this is a very interesting call. And I do encourage people who are interested in serial sexual homicide to read about the Russ Williams case, because he's a very good example of a person living a double life. I mean, this is somebody who literally flew the queen.
Yes.
Right. I mean, and who is living this life where he's strangling women to death, abusing a corpse, putting the clothing on, etc. And filmed it. Can you imagine the people who had to watch it? The hours of it.
And his was also an example of the progression, like a clear example of the progression.
Very good. There's another example of you being not so naive.
And you're probably rooting for the Blue Jays in the World Series.
Oh, right? Go Jays. Go Jays.
That's right. Dr.Gary has no idea who that is.
The other local crime story, of course, is Paul Bernardo and Carla Homolka.
A little too well. Yes.
What a horrible. I remember when that happened as well. And
She's out, by the way. You know, she's out and about.
oh, she was out after 12 years. It was crazy how that unfolded. The whole community, of course, was shocked when they found the videos that the lawyer had hidden that clearly illustrated that she was a co-conspirator, she was as involved as he was.
Remember when they killed her sister?
Yes.
And then the photo of themselves waving in a gingerly kind of way in her pocket. So when her body was exhumed, the police found the photo of them waving.
It was just so horrendous. The other one that I'm not sure if you heard of is Dylan Millard. He was in. Have you heard of him?
Yes, but he's more obscure. But I have it in my database here.
Yes. So he found a truck on Kijiji and came to Toronto and took it for a test drive. And within several minutes of being in the test driving the truck with the owner, Tim Bosma, shot Tim. The family is an acquaintance.
It wasn't Malone. He was with the Mark Smith.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I'm so impressed with you, Dr. Gary. Like, I'm more impressed with you every day.
That's a disturbing statement, but yes, I appreciate that. But yeah, that was like a kind of a pair killing.
Yes,
that was, you know what's interesting about that? There's also some question of Millard's father.
Yes, he was.
They originally thought was like a suicide.
That's right.
But now there's some question about that. Yeah,
well,
that's a very interesting case. Yeah,
he was convicted of his father's murder.
Right. Maybe Josh should bring it up because it's actually a really, really interesting case to talk about. I don't know if you want to, Josh. Yeah, it's I'll give you the spelling. It's Dylan Millard, DELLEN MILLARD.
That's right.
Mark MARK Smich SMICH. I feel like I'm in a spelling bee. Smich.
And I also wanted to mention that one of my favorites is Lorena McKinnon. I love Tori Amos as well.
Oh,
have you heard of Lorena McKinnon?
Of course, but I did. That's interesting to know that you like Tori Amos.
Wait. Spell the last name again.
I put it in the live chat for you. Millard, MILLARD.
Yeah, I got it now.
Yeah.
And I have another question. Like, I'd love to hear you talk about Dylan Millard for sure. But just before I forget, what happens to these criminals when they end up in jail cells? Like, in 20 years, are they just like, are they able to?
All different.
Yeah.
It's all different. It's sort of like the question earlier about can grief bring about whatever. It depends on your personality, your biology, your resiliency, what happens to you while you're there. I mean, there's a very big difference between a person who goes to jail and is assaulted and a person who goes to jail and isn't. A person who's 80 when they go, or 18, or it all depends. But I've seen all kinds of things. I mean, but it's scary stuff. I mean, let's just say you don't want to go there.
Dr. Gary, I'm going to need to pass on it because we got a line.
Oh, okay. Then I do encourage the audience to read about it because it is quite a fascinating case and one that I think may wind up being even richer. As time, instead of it just being the 3 victims, maybe
yes.
But there's this question about the.
And I just want to say thank you again, both of you, so much, because in this darkness, you really do restore humanity. I love when you talk about love and attachment and appreciating people.
Right.
And, there is so much goodness in the world despite all of the darkness. So thank you so much.
That's very sweet. Well, I appreciate that because I am a person who's very good at helping other people do it, but I stink at doing it for myself. I couldn't keep a person attached to me with crazy glue, but I am definitely good at getting. It's very strange. It's like this weird paradox. You know what I mean? Because I have people who say, wow, you must just be the best at like winning people over. Like, are you kidding me? Like, cannot do it, but I can get you to do it. I don't understand that, but that's how it is. I'm like, I get excited when someone's like nice to me in the diner. I'm like, I had an amazing conversation tonight. And it's like, really? You made a friend? I'll be like, yeah, they asked me if I wanted more coffee. It's really, really pathetic.
I
But
can't believe it. They told me to frig off.
right, exactly. Like, thanks for the tip. You know, it's just the way it is, and I'm very good at it with helping others, but I just cannot. You know, I get very misunderstood by people,
Yes,
and
I
especially
do too.
yeah, because it's typical of empathic people. You mirror, they kind of draw on it. It can be very intense. They can it's not for everybody to be an empath, let me put it that way. But I think that it's a typical phenomenon. So you sound like you have some empathic traits.
I think I do actually.
Yeah, I
And
can
life is easier said than done for all of us.
yes, well, that's that listen, if equal affection cannot be, let the more loving one be me, as all. All right. Well,
Thank you
I'll
so
talk to you
much.
later. Thank you so much, and keep being you. Okay.
Thank you. You
All
too.
right. And all right. So Josh, how many more people are on the line?
No, we got about we got 4 left. Hey, by the way,
They want to know if we have more coffee. We want
if
more coffee.
what are they? What is it? What's the saying? If ifs and buts were candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. That's my quote to you.
Right. Exactly.
You're always coming up with these obscure.
It's not obscure. Auden is not so obscure. At least I hope not. That's pretty sad. But read about that case when you can privately, because the Florida and Switch case is really interesting. It's like she's right. It is really, and most people never heard of it.
Yeah.
So another one of those.
I have it pulled up. I would bring it up. It's just that we do have a
really, really interesting case. Everything about it. Anyway, so all right, moving on.
Leanne, you're on the air. Where are you calling from?
Hello. I'm calling from Alabama.
Oh,
Sweet
pleasure.
Yeah, this is my first time calling in.
Very nice. Thank you for.
What's your name?
Leanne.
Leanne. Okay,
Do
pleasure.
you not hear when I announce? This is the third time you. Do you not hear when I announce the name? I go, "Hey, Leanne, Leanne, where are you calling from?"
I didn't hear. Josh, you have to understand. When you spend all day talking to patients, you learn a different way of listening. I cannot explain to you what I mean by it. It's like listening to a confession. A priest doesn't listen to the confession to memorize it. You listen to it with a kind of an acute lens
right.
to help, and then it passes away, and there's no judgment of it, unless you write down because it's essential for the future.
Just listen for the name.
All right. Okay, you could put it in the chat.
Yeah, this is my first time calling. I don't.
What's your name again?
I don't really have a specific question, but I am a forensic psychology student, and I've listened to several of these lives, and I just really admire the both of you. And I recently received Dr. Gary's book for my birthday, and I've been reading it.
When was your birthday?
The 16th of
Happy
this month.
birthday.
Yeah.
How old did you turn?
Thank you. 22.
Congratulations. That's wonderful. I am very sorry about any night terrors or sweats or convulsions or anything that happens as a result of the book.
Oh, well, I'm kind of used to reading a lot of dark stuff, especially because I'm studying it.
Oh, cool. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I'm studying forensic psychology, and right now I'm taking 2 psych classes. It's been pretty interesting. I have assignments on the death penalty coming up. I'm going to have to answer if I'm for it or against it. So I'm not really sure how I'm going to word it.
That's wonderful. And well, I guess I won't ask where you go to school because it starts getting too identifying of you. But I hope you're in a good program.
Yes. It's a renowned criminal justice program. I've had great professors.
Good for
Are
you.
you for it or are you against it?
That's a tough question. I mean, I can see both sides. I feel like, if you do the crime, you should serve some type of, consequence for your actions. But I don't know. I feel like that's kind of a loaded question. I could answer it both ways.
Well, I mean, do you feel one way more so than the other?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of against it. I mean, if we could avoid it at all, because I feel like, but then again, I don't know, because when you're in prison, some people feel like prison is the worst, but then some say, well, you begin a new life. You know, you can go to college or you can work in the jail or whatever. And
I'm going to
so,
tell you the biggest issue that I have with the death penalty. And I am pro death penalty because I think that there are people out there that don't deserve to draw another breath of air because of what they've done to people. And trust me, those people exist, and you will get to know that, if you haven't already, very intimately in the career path that you're going down. The problem with the death penalty is that it's not evenly applied, and it is very it's just very in the hands of specific judges and juries. Nicholas Cruz, who was up for the death penalty in the Parkland shooting, he was spared the death penalty by a vote of 11-1. All he needed was one person to vote him against the death penalty. 11 other jurors said, yes, he deserves to be killed for his crimes. And then one person said, no, I don't believe in the death penalty. When, they basically didn't, I don't know if they didn't tell the truth on their whatever, or during, jury selection or whatever. And so anyway, that law actually got changed, and now it's like a 2/3 majority, or maybe it's just a half now. Now, but I've seen cases where the co-defendant in a death penalty case gets executed before the actual gunman. I've seen it. I mean, I've read about it. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. This person runs out of appeals while the trigger man is still, fighting his appeals and gets another 15 years. There is no common, it's just not applied evenly. And it is so up to the judge and the state that you're in. So it's a very flawed system, and one that a lot of states don't use. But I do think that when you start reading about people like Tommy Lynn Sells,
yes.
and you read about the Timothy McVeigh,
Yes, absolutely.
and so on, I can't imagine a scenario where anybody would want to live in a world with people that have committed those kinds of crimes. And I think that you should have to pay for those crimes. And I don't know necessarily if people use it as a deterrent, but what they do use it as is, hey, you messed up so bad that you're no longer welcome in this world.
But it doesn't work as a deterrent. And see,
well, I don't think that it needs to.
Right. Well, you and I have a different opinion about it, because I'm very influenced by my Catholic teaching, which is in all cases opposed to the taking of life for any reason whatsoever. And so that you have to understand.
What do you mean by that?
The way I see it is that, and I think it's a very interesting thing to talk about.
How is that though? How is Catholicism against the death penalty?
Well, first of all, Christ was executed.
And
We have an issue.
Dr.
You have to understand that the Catholic position is that a life is a life. It's sort of like when Kafka said that, that I'm going to paraphrase him. He basically said, like, if you kill a cockroach, you're a hero, but if you kill a butterfly, you're a monster, because killing has aesthetic criteria. Well, it's kind of like that. Isn't a life? See, the idea is that if the idea becomes, I'm killing this person because of what they did, that's one philosophy. But another philosophy is that the taking of the breath of life from a person makes you the equivalent of a person that you're killing because they took the breath of life from another person. So that there winds up being a kind of hypocrisy to it. And I understand it depends on if you believe you're doing it for the protection of society or to deter crime. And the problem is that the stats don't support that. So then it raises the question, then why are you doing it? Is it like revenge? Does it give you some ritualistic feeling of purging? I'm just saying from a spiritual perspective, I have an issue with anything that has to do with the taking of life. But I have no judgment whatsoever of anybody else who believes in it, because especially people who've had a loved one who has been brutally tortured or assaulted or whatever, I can understand why it would feel satisfactory to them. So I make no judgment of it. I only am saying that from my spiritual perspective, I have an issue with it. But you are talking to a person that wouldn't, I wouldn't even kill an ant. You know what I'm saying? Literally, like I did it the other day. Like I took ants and put them on like an index card and walked them outside because I didn't want to kill them.
That's wild.
It's not, because in my mind, life is life. What
Right.
business do I have deciding the value of a life?
I just
Right.
bought a
What's
bunch
the
of ant
problem
traps.
with that? What?
I just bought a bunch of ant traps too.
That's hilarious. Well, we have a different, but it's a tough one. I agree with
Yeah.
J-Lo too in the audience. Now, just out of curiosity, what is it that you want to do with your career in the future? I mean, what do you want to do?
I'm not sure. Right now, I would really love to become a child advocate.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. Yep. I love working with children. And if I can help them in any way I can, that'd be great.
So, in other words, you're interested in the victims of crime, not the people who perpetrate it.
Yes. Yes.
Very interesting. You should talk to me about putting you in touch with some people that I know who do that kind of work, where you could potentially volunteer to work online, because it might help your resume. It might help you in your career.
Yes. I would love that.
Yeah, you could, because there are a number of people I'm aware of in the Cold Case Foundation and elsewhere who do research on that and so forth, that I can put you in touch with. And I think that, and the people that volunteer with them are in forensic programs all over the country.
Thank you. I would love
Yeah,
that.
so just shoot me an email, and I'm sure you could find me, and I'd be happy to direct you to them. Okay, I'll look for it because I'll remember your name, especially after I was chastised for not remembering it the first time. Now I remember it. But Josh, how many more people are lined up?
We got about 3 more calls.
Oh boy. Well, then, it was a pleasure to talk to you, and congratulations on all your success. And I
Yes.
think it's beautiful that you want to help people in those positions. That the world does have a tendency to not want to look at certain things.
Yes.
There's like a pile of types of people don't want to look at.
Right.
But victims of violent crime, not for everybody, because it stirs up their own stuff. So I think somebody has to care about these people. And I think it's great that you want to do that. Good for you.
Yes. Thank you so much, the both
You're
of you.
welcome. I'll look for your email. Okay.
Yes.
Take care. All right, let's see.
I think that's wonderful.
You know what? Let's see. Christina or Paula, neither one of your mics are on. Let's see.
T-Walk said that they allowed the ladybugs to survive when they were doing cleanup.
Yeah, ladybug.
Do you know why they're called ladybugs?
Ants are not the same.
Do you know why ladybugs are called ladybugs?
I think I know. I think I've heard this before, but I don't remember.
It's very interesting because they aren't really native to where they wound up, And as I understand the story, I think it was some part of Europe. There was a terrible problem with the crops where aphids were eating the crops, and they prayed to the Virgin Mary to save the crop. And then by some mysterious force, the wind turned that was carrying large amounts of ladybugs during some kind of migration, and they were blown into that part of Europe and wound up eating all the aphids and saved the crop. So they called them ladybugs after the Virgin Mary, after the who was sometimes called Our Lady. For that reason, there's always been this kind of tying of ladybugs to spiritual things, like when someone dies, ladybugs visit and things like that. Sometimes people call them ladybirds. The truth is they're quite vicious. If you ever watch magnification of ladybugs, their jaws and the way they eat and so forth, they're kind of terrifying, but they're quite cute, in terms of the red with the dots.
Yeah, I would be stomping on. I would not stomp on ladybugs.
I think it would be messed up to kill one. There are some bugs that, like, to kill them, I get it. Like a roach. I understand killing a roach, but it's very hard for me, because I look at it and I'm like, this thing comes from like millions of years of evolution. I believe it was created by a benevolent God. And what right do I have to consider this thing ugly? just because it doesn't meet my aesthetic criteria. I'm going to crush it. Feels kind of sad to me.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Creatures.
I guess I can understand that, but I don't really think that hard about it.
All right.
I think that when insects are invasive, I think that you have, like, I don't go into their dirt hole.
I understand. I mean, I get it. There are different justifications, but I'm just saying it's very hard for me because my whole life I have loved animals and living things and plants.
I think you're just scared of insects, is what it is.
Not at all. I don't. In fact, to be honest with you, I honest to God don't think I am scared of anything. I almost wish I were, but I'm one of those people, like, I don't have a reaction to anything. Like, I wish something scared me.
Like, you're talking about physical things.
Nothing. Not absolutely not. Like, I would literally, like, walk right up to a deadly snake and be like, like, if I had to, like, put a collar on it, like, pick it up, and I wouldn't have any reaction to it. It's like a perk of mine. I just don't get scared of stuff like that. It doesn't freak me out. Not one thing. I'm the kind of person who would, like, drive my car toward a storm to see it because I think it's interesting. It just, like, because I believe that the truth of life requires going into the dark stuff that people don't want to look at.
Yeah.
So so it's like I'm comfortable with the shadow. You know what I mean? It doesn't bother. Like, my whole life I've done that. Oh, let's pick this rock up and see what's underneath it. You know what I mean? And I'm a therapist. I mean, I go to the darkest places. It doesn't scare me. I have no judgment of it. Why do you think we're friends, Josh?
Because I'm an enigma, or
Yeah, you're a nice guy.
Not really. Sometimes.
But you've been touched by the darkness, and in your life, and I think you're an interesting balance of light and darkness. I think you have to understand. I think people who cannot see the darkness of life it's like being in love with a person but not really knowing them. Like, you want to know somebody's faults and then loving them means something. See what I mean? So it's like life is like that too. Like, it's one thing to say, I love life, the trees and the birds and the beautiful things people have created and the clouds and the Taj Mahal and Mount Rushmore. Right. But what about, like, insects that burrow out of children's eyes and, like, horrendous cancers and, disgusting things, like, I'm just saying, like, that's also part of life. Serial killers, murderers, perverts, people with severe, illness, etc. And you have to take life with all of it, or you're not really seeing the truth. It's a very almost Buddhist kind of idea. You know what I mean? That you don't judge the parts that are good and bad. It just is. And I think when you do that, you come to grips with the realities of life a lot more. I have a problem with a Pollyannish way of seeing anything. So I just don't get scared of stuff. I think that's how you get to the truth. Don't you see that?
Yeah, but I mean, look, there's a difference between searching for, meaning and not being scared of things, and walking up to a deadly snake, not knowing how to handle one.
No, I just mean that if somebody told me how to handle it, it wouldn't scare me.
Right.
I think knowledge is power. You know what I mean? Like understanding something makes it, you could approach it. That's sort of what happens with everything that's in the shadow, right? Like, once you understand it, it doesn't have power anymore. It isn't unknown anymore.
Yeah. I can understand
those things. It just means you understand them.
As somebody who has been through exposure therapy, I completely get it. I understand. But that being said, I mean, it is a very daunting task for people who do not associate with that kind of stuff every day, like you do. Like your comment that you just said about the insects and the eyeballs, people probably got, like, an adverse reaction to it. I guarantee it.
But that's a real thing. There are entomologists who have to study that. It happens.
I get it.
Saying that, all I'm trying to say is that, yes, it's true. It takes years of becoming comfortable with that stuff before you're not afraid of it. Yes, absolutely. But you have to make an effort, and then everything eventually extinguishes. And I think that with a lot of the things that lead to problems in this world is fear. For example, think how many crimes ultimately happen because of fear of loss. And then having a person, taken from you, or a partner that cheats on you, or whatever. In other words, like, attachments can lead to a lot of problems. You know what I mean? It's almost like if you could learn to detach, you'd be a little less hurt.
Well, they had to make laws for that specific stuff.
I'm just saying that there's something to be said about, like, sort of being prepared for dark realities so that you don't become completely destroyed when they happen. You have coping skills for when
Sure.
they happen.
Right?
You know what I mean?
I think that that's a big part of life, is that, you know, when tragedy hits, like, you should be ready at any time, and you should be well enough established in life and take care of yourself enough to be able to deal with the tragedies when they come up. Now, sometimes they just come up out of nowhere, but you
Right.
want to be the one that, you know, like, if there's a tragedy that strikes, maybe since you're the one that has been exposed to those things, you kind of take charge and
Right.
show people
Right.
how to,
You teach. Yeah, you teach. We do it all the time, actually,
Right.
in many ways. And, you know, Josh, I have to tell you, although it sounds corny, I think that of all the things in the world, the one thing that that I think is one of the scariest for people is being loved.
Sure, absolutely.
Letting someone love you, really love you, not love your persona, but
Yes.
get in there and see the nitty gritty, the ugliness, the embarrassing stuff, the whatever. And so what happens is that if you are a person who has done a lot of work on themselves, and you've gotten to a place where you can openly and unabashedly give affection, people will shirk from that because it scares them. Yet, because they could get attached to you, they could lose you. You could put a spotlight on who they really are. So it feels like a hurt, and you clam up from it. You understand? And I think a lot of people in the audience have been there. You know, how many people have had a person that really could have loved them, but they fled because it scares the crap out of them, right? That's why I think a lot of people go with people that treat them badly, because it's predictable, but you don't have the terror of that you might actually lose someone you love. That's so much more scary, that someone who cares about you could leave.
Yeah, and you kind of have a reason. You kind of have a foot out the door, because it's like, oh, well, this person treats me bad all the time. I'm leaving, and I'm not looking back. You know, how often do people leave people that treat them, you know, extremely well? I mean, not often, you know, but it does happen.
It's the way it is. People run away from you when you care about them too much. It's just the way it is, because it is a, no one believes that someone could be that sincere about that. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it always feels kind of weird, but it's the truth is, if you've done a lot of work on yourself and you're kind of healthy in that way, it's not hard for you to be open about wanting to be attached, you know, caring about people, putting them before you, thinking of them a lot. Whatever. I just don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's just rare.
Bro, I'm telling you, it's so funny, because I think back, you know, we just had that young lady call in. She's 22 years old. And I remember when I was 22, how I looked at life, and, you know, how I sort of processed life. And like I said, in a couple of weeks, I'll be 40. And
I can't get over it, because you don't look 40.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you. I look at life so much different. And it has, mostly because of experience and being in, you know, situations that I've learned from. And that's one of the things that I really do try to do in life, is learn from situations that I've been in. And if I did them wrong, or maybe I could do them a better way, then that's what I really do try to do. That I try to, you know, go forward, and I try my best. It's a very difficult thing to do, but the difference in the way that I've see the world from 20 years ago to now, it's baffling, to be honest with you.
Oh, I know. This is why I'm fascinated by, you know, like when people date or get married and there's very, very large age differences. Like, in theory, if two people are adults, I couldn't care less, you know. But the problem is that they're at such different life stages that it's sometimes confusing how they see the world. So like if you're like, 30 and you're 50, you have two completely different ways of seeing the world. If you're 25 and you're 45, I mean, so like it's one of those things where you just kind of go like, what do you talk about?
Yeah, or you don't have you don't have stuff in common with
Oh,
somebody.
because your whole worldview is so different. But I understand, listen, people are adults, they can do whatever the heck they want. Who cares, But I just think that it is interesting sometimes to kind of go like, but you're at such completely different life stages. I wonder, because so it's like, I mean, when you talk to people now that are like 20, 25 years younger than you, like, do you have anything in common with them?
No.
You know what I'm saying? I'm just like talking to somebody. I'm like, what? And there are things that younger people do now that like just absolutely blow my mind. Like the way they relate to others, the way they deal with conflict, the way the things they're willing to say, the things they do online. I'm just like, what? I can't comprehend it. In a weird way, I kind of like being older because I don't like a lot of what goes on in the younger. Like it would bother me too much. I'd be too sensitive to it.
Sure.
And so do you like being this age or do you wish you were younger?
No, this is actually my favorite age that I've ever been. And being younger, well, first of all, when you're younger, you don't really understand life and you're kind of just struggling to get your feet, on the ground. This age I like because I don't know. I feel like
you're seasoned, you have experience.
Well, I feel like I can navigate life a little bit better now at the age that I am. And I'm excited to know what it's going to be like in 10 years because I'll probably think about the world different in 10 years. Maybe not a lot.
How old was your mother when she passed?
Oh, I was about
3. No, how old was she?
23.
So you're almost double.
Twice.
Yeah, you're almost double the length of your mother's life.
Yes.
I wonder how that feels.
When I turned 23, I struggled with it a lot. Matter of fact, that's when I went back to therapy because I was diagnosed with what's commonly known as survivor's guilt years later because I would always say, how come I get to keep living my life? And then she doesn't, but
doing it for her.
What's that?
Doing it for her.
That was
her DNA.
Yeah, that was sort of the thing that I have a responsibility to live my life and try to live it in the best way that I can. I have a responsibility to my family, to her, to my just to everybody in my life.
You're like Noah's Ark.
What the heck is that?
You have two chunks of DNA in you, right? You've got the DNA from a woman who died at, you said 23?
Yes.
And now your job is to kind of live life and keep her alive.
Yes.
On that side. You've got the DNA of somebody who went a criminal route and did terrible things. Your job there is to take that same DNA and redeem the story by letting the buck stop with you and being a good man. So that something good comes out of that the sprouts out of that DNA.
Yeah.
So that on the one hand, you're redeeming a death, and on the other, redeeming a life. See, and so you see it that you're like a capsule that's containing those two sets of DNA that need redemption.
Look, I appreciate and agree with what you're saying. It is. I do struggle. I've struggled with that as well. When you go, hey, like I'm the son of somebody who has committed a terrible, terrible act. Not only that, I still have guilt from my aunt being shot because of my father was the one that did it. And I see my aunt who is alive and who almost died. And I take on some of that guilt. And I know people say, well, you had nothing to do with it. It's ridiculous to think that. All those things are true. I get it. But that doesn't mean that you have a sense of responsibility no matter what. I just, like, you don't think people that you don't think like children of people who commit violent crimes don't feel guilty for the victims of those crimes, even though they weren't the one that did it, but somebody did it, and it just so happened to be your parent or your father. It's not a great feeling.
Of course, I
Yeah.
understand that, but
Yeah.
but it is fascinating that out of those roots came you. I mean, you don't have the slightest trace of your father in you, and it's like it's like a Star Wars thing.
Well, I was so blessed that I never had to do that. I never had to fight those urges and those instincts and those crazy. I never had to fight that, and I'm so happy about that because of the people that I was raised by too. It makes a huge difference in your life. It really makes all the difference that I was raised by some wonderful people. And yes, I could have gone many different ways. And I'm not saying that I'm a perfect angel that I've ever been. I'm sarcastic. I can be rude sometimes and dry and all these things. But I do actually genuinely care when I hear people who are reaching out for either advice or just somebody to listen to. And I think a lot of that is what we do here. Now,
speaking of which, we probably have a lot.
We have one last call. We're going to take it right now.
Yeah, there were three more.
I don't know. Their camera wasn't working.
They lost their patience. Okay. All right.
We got one last call and then we'll end it because I got to take the dogs out. But here we go. Linda, where are you calling from?
Surprise.
Surprise, Arizona. I've called before.
No.
We know. And also, I think you were another person who was kind enough to send a contribution about the piano playing.
I don't think that was me.
Oh, really? Because I got one from Melinda who said
piano though. I have. In fact, I fell asleep one night listening to you.
I don't blame you. People.
Well, no, that was a good thing because I have insomnia and it was soothing.
Well, that's what people say about me talking.
So that's a really good thing. But anyway, yeah. Josh, you and I have so much in common. After listening to you talk, because I know I wasn't going to call in tonight, but because of the lady who talked about grieving and how you said everybody grieves in their own unique way, and based on how you've been raised and who you've been raised by, and the interaction you had with that person who passed away is how you're going to grieve. And like when my mother passed away, I had no feeling for her. I didn't cry because she abandoned me and my brothers when we were very young. She had help from her brothers to be able to keep us, and she chose to go to her boyfriend and live with him. And so we ended up being, we grew up separately and with different aunts and uncles. I was raised, so at the age of 9 and up, I was raised with my aunt and uncle. And my aunt took every opportunity she could to put me down. My uncle didn't because I think he was my mother's brother. And he always took every opportunity to say nice things to me. And my question with you is with your father, was he an alcoholic?
I don't think that he was an alcoholic, but they definitely made him, or he was supposed to, in one of the things that he didn't do when he was in prison. But he did partake in alcohol, but I don't know if he was a full-blown alcoholic. I mean, he denies that he was. He wasn't drunk or high at the time of the crimes, but in prison he was supposed to, and I don't know if he has or not, but I knew that at one point he hadn't, but he was supposed to complete a alcohol class, like, and he never did, and subsequently he's always been denied for parole. Not specifically on that, but I believe that he was into other things at the time. Crack cocaine was just starting. And I had heard that from some people that him and some friends we're trying it, and who knows how that altered his brain. But you got to understand that this wasn't a snap. I mean, it was, but it wasn't. He had a history of bad behavior before that, and a lot of it was covered up, and a lot of it was, especially back then, the information was not the way that it is now. I mean, you're talking about the early 80s and mid 80s and then late 80s. So, but he had many other issues with just women and men as well. I mean, he was a prominent boxer in the military.
Oh,
He was a fantastic athlete, wrestler.
Hmm.
And he kind of used that to kind of bully his way around some people from time to time. If you crossed him, he could beat you up, and he knew that. And
Did you get your height from him? And we see.
no, actually, I don't. I get it from I
That's
get it from my uncles. He's actually pretty short. He's 5'8" or so. He's not a very tall guy.
Average height.
Yeah.
I asked because my dad was a violent alcoholic.
Yeah.
And he used to beat my mother really bad.
Mhm.
And I mean, but it was always when he was drinking, and when he was not drinking, he was a nice person. But most of the time, he was drinking, and so he was violent. But like your upbringing, it's funny because I actually have more affection towards my father than I do my mother, because my mother was so emotionally detached. She just had no feelings or no maternal instincts at all for her children.
Yeah.
But my father, when he wasn't drinking, was wonderful. He would tell me he loved me. He would pick me up and hug me. He would dance with me to country music. And so I have those good memories of him. And I know that alcoholism is a disease. And back then, years and years ago, I mean, that was in the 50s. And then, they didn't have the help that you can get today. But and it's so nice that you were raised by great people, because like I said, when my aunt died, I was so glad I had a herniated disc and didn't have to go to her funeral, because I didn't want to pretend I just didn't have any affection for her because of the way she treated me. And the reason she treated me that way is because she had a daughter the same age as me. And if I excelled in anything that was better than what her daughter did, then she would she would always say something to me. Well, the only reason you have friends and boyfriends is because they feel sorry for me.
Yeah.
And that actually was worse for me than what my mother did, because my aunt was a psychiatric nurse. She knew better, and she knew what saying that to someone at my age at 13, what that would do. And so all my life I have dealt with rejection and trying to overcome it. But I didn't let the cycle continue, because I have raised, my ex-husband and I, he helped me, of course. We raised 3 wonderful children. They're all great people, compassionate, kind, loving. And I have 11 grandchildren who are all kind, compassionate, and loving. And so, I think, like you said, grieving is unique to each person and based on what you've experienced in life.
Yeah.
And so, I think it's wonderful that now let me ask you, if your father died, would you grieve for him?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I would. At the end of the day, he's my father, and it would be an end of a chapter in my life, and I would grieve that situation mostly, I think, is what I would. I actually was just thinking about it the other day, how I would feel, and I know that parents can do these just unimaginable. I mean, you see it all the time. Parents can do unimaginable things to children, and they can do unimaginable things to their family. And for some reason, there is something biological in you
Of course.
that is still connected to that person. I don't speak to my father. I have before. We've had a couple conversations when I was an adult, and that was about it. I didn't like I didn't get much from those conversations. There was a couple things that he talked to me that I asked him that he answered. Mostly it was about my mother, and I appreciated that. But at the end of the day, you got to go. Well, I appreciate you doing that, but you really shouldn't have. You really shouldn't have killed my mom. That's how you feel. That way I wouldn't have to be asking you these questions. But yeah, I would grieve him. I would grieve the situation. I do grieve it. Matter of fact, he'll be coming up for parole in March. I just got a letter yesterday, which is, I don't know, this is probably the 15th time, and who knows what'll happen.
How do you feel about him getting parole? What if he was released?
I would not be happy about it. I would be upset about it. And, mostly because of my grandmother. I think that I want my grandmother to live the rest of her life without having to worry about that. There are stipulations. Look, if he gets paroled, he's going to be on felony parole for the rest of his life.
Right.
He's not allowed even in the same county that my family's in, no matter what, for any reason. He'll be returned to prison. I'll never have to run into him, at the supermarket. And I never wanted my grandmother or anybody to have to do that either. I think that he should sit in prison the rest of his life. And just like we talked about earlier, he's lucky that he wasn't given the death penalty back then, because in the late 80s, California did have the death penalty. And let's not forget that not only did he kill my mother, he also tried to kill my aunt. So, he had attempted murder and murder on top of that.
Wow.
A lot of times in California, people do not, they call it the life by the installment plan, meaning you come up for parole and you get denied. They're very strict. I know a lot of people have a lot of things to say about California, and I get it. I understand. Blah, 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 blah.
My daughter lives in Sacramento. So.
Well, I tell you that the parole boards are extremely harsh against people who commit life crimes. They really are. And they see these people every day. Now, do they make mistakes? There's no question about it. But from my personal experience, I've walked into those rooms and I've been in those parole hearings, and the questions that they ask and the way that they catch you in lies, they are ruthless. And I remember, I'll just tell you that my father was trying to explain his stalking behavior. They asked him about his stalking behavior, and he said, well, I wasn't stalking. And the guy says, well, what were you doing? He says, I was spying. And he got the parole board guy says, Mr. Diaz, I am not here to play semantics with you. And I turned and looked at my sister. I said, this is going awful for him. Because he doesn't understand. He's a stunted human. You know what I mean? So anyway, yeah, I do not want him out, and I hope that he doesn't. And I'll keep fighting that forever.
Yeah. Well, you're a better person than I am, because like I said, I because of my mother treated me, and it did so many terrible things to me, especially with my aunt. I didn't grieve for either of them. So you're a better person than I am. And Dr. Gary, I know you can't. I know you have, clinical ethics and things like that. So generally then, my not grieving for my mother is unique to my experience. So it doesn't necessarily make me a bad person, does it?
Of course not.
No, but I when you said that, I think I know why somebody would feel that way about their mother that has been a mother. You become resentful if you don't feel like, if you weren't nurtured by the person that's supposed to be nurturing you.
Exactly.
It's a very difficult thing to deal with. I know that.
Well, look, I know from previous calls that you've made, we've talked about that.
Yes.
That you have a very reflective, kind of empathic personality. And you have to understand that in a family dynamic, the empathic figure is kind of like a scapegoat. Because what happens is that the person who accurately reflects what's going on in the parents or in the family is easier to blame and eliminate than to acknowledge the problems that are present in the self. So you shoot the messenger. And this is why families have those empathic figures that are the black sheep. Because the idea is it's easier to just cut that family member off than to say, you know what, she's right that dad drinks and that mom, has these problems and whatever. You just don't invite them to Thanksgiving. You understand? You get rid of the mirror. And what happens as a result is that those people who are absorbing all the terrible things that are being projected onto them in the smashing of the mirror spend their entire lives thinking that there's something fundamentally wrong with them. When really what it is that they're just accurately reflecting that these people are kind of terrible or are kind of flawed. And they feel guilty because what they're doing is they're picking up on the family's desire to pretend there's nothing wrong with them. So they say, well, they must be good, and I'm just a terrible person for not acknowledging it, that they're good, or there's something wrong with me for not understanding how terrific they are.
Right.
But really what it is that you're the only one who sees it for what it is and goes, the emperor has no clothes. What? Like, are you crazy? What? So what happens is at some point, people like that, empathic people, they start to hate their own gift, and they start to think that it's a burden.
It's
and
a
it
curse.
isolates them, and it's a curse because it alienates them from anybody that they try to love. You understand? It's and that's what I was trying to say earlier, is that it's very hard for people to receive love and what I was trying to say about people see the world for all of its darkness and its light is because to love a person means to see them for everything, good and bad. And then they have to accept that they are loved for what they are and despite what they are. And most people only want to be loved for the persona, for what they want you to see. Well, that makes an empathic person very dangerous, dangerously honest. That's why, for example, in any a cultural group or country where let's say horrendous forces are taking over a dumbed down public, you kill and quiet the academics. You kill and quiet the people that hold the mirror up and go, what are you guys doing? Are you losing it? Why are you so doing these evil things? So you eliminate those people. You understand? That's the whole idea. Or you gaslight them away. So I think what you're describing is a common phenomenon in the person who's been the empathic kind of scapegoat figure in a family. But the paradox of it is that it actually means that you're the only person that was committed to the truth. And you were willing to love people even though they were faulted. But what it feels like is that all you get back is that you can't be loved and that there's something wrong with you.
Exactly. And that's
And what I'm
exactly the
trying
way
to
I grew
say,
up.
exactly. And what I'm trying to say to you is that to any normal people out in the world, your existence is a gift. Because to anybody who wants to be loved for what they are, you're the perfect person. You're only a problem to a person that doesn't want to look in a mirror. See?
Yeah.
Get it?
Yeah, I do. And like I said, I'm over that now. I should be though, because I'm almost 70. So, but it did
Right. But
impact
out
me.
of those
It did
people
impact me
came.
growing up and as an adult. It did affect me,
It
but
didn't just affect you, it cheated you out of enormous patches of life.
that's true. That's true.
Right.
You're right. That's
I
true.
know.
Well, I'm
So
gonna
what
let you go because I know it's
you
really
get what I'm
late.
saying? But you're a good
Yeah.
person. And I'm trying to tell you, it's gonna take you your whole life to turn the mirror around, look at yourself and say, I wish I knew somebody like me who loved me the way I loved all these people. Do you know, every day of my life, I wish I would sit down on the bus and turn to someone and they would ask the kind of things of me that I ask of them. It would be the greatest day of my life. I'd feel like I mattered. You understand?
Yeah. Well,
So I'm
I
saying that
told you.
you should be proud to be
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, well, and I told you before, I lost my husband 10 years ago. And that man, I know what true love is, because that man loved me more than anyone has ever loved me in my life, and me
Well,
him.
you got a little taste of you.
Yeah, so I did. Thank you. Oh,
Got a
that's
little
so
taste
nice.
of yourself. You got a little
That's
taste
very nice
of
of you to
yourself.
say.
Isn't it nice?
But
Doesn't it feel good?
yes, it
See?
does. Thank
So,
you.
so, and now you're laughing and smiling at. You see how people are. Some people are like those orchids that they only bloom at midnight. When you put them in the right soil. Well, So look, I'm very, very pleased that I had an opportunity to say this because, like I was saying about people who write songs, sometimes you talk in the specific, but it's generalizable to every single person listening.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people in the audience who have been the scapegoat, who have been the person who's made to feel guilty because they dared to love someone for real, to see them faults and all, and they get punished for it. Especially narcissistic people, they do not want to be seen that way.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yes.
So
Thank you
I think
so much.
a very beautiful call this turned into, as always. Every time you call,
Yeah, absolutely.
you're a
Yeah.
wonderful person, and I for one think the world is a better place with you in it.
One of my favorite callers, Linda. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, and I love your show, and I love both of you. Like I said, I watch you all the time, Josh,
Very
and I've
good.
been listening to Dr. Gary now, and with his piano and stuff. You played something today. Was it called The Fish?
No, that was a couple of days ago.
A couple of days ago. Okay.
That was where I tried to make the music sound like the movement of a fish that was
Okay. Yeah.
slipping out of your hands, because I was writing about the experience of taking a
Well,
fish that you kept as a pet, releasing
what-
it into the wild,
okay.
and it's very interesting. I like to do music where the music mimics the movement of something like walking or birds or fish.
Cool.
It's very hard to do
Yeah.
because the music, the piano notes have to move a strange way to do it. But I think it has it has a kind of beautiful effect. No, I haven't written anything about trimming any flowers or plants. No, but I think that's
Horticulturalist.
I probably should though. But what did you think of my idea, Linda, of telling people that for like a fixed kind of tip or whatever, that I will write a piece about whatever it is they would like me to write a piece about. Like for a birthday gift, I'd like you to write a piece about my daughter, that kind of thing. And
Oh, I
here's
think that would be great.
kind of thing. I think it would be fun, and it would
Yes.
and it would make
it will be fun.
Definitely.
It'll be fun. I
That's
think.
a great idea.
Josh is like, oh, it'll
Yeah.
be fun.
That's wonderful. Well, Josh,
All right, now, Josh.
I wanted to tell you, you've turned into. I know you said you're about to turn 40, and 40, I was in my prime. I will tell you, when I was in my 40s, 42, I was in the best shape of my life.
Yeah.
I was running 3 miles 3 days a week, and
There
at my
you go.
best weight. So it's don't be afraid of it. And I think you're a fine person. I mean, to have gone through what you've gone through, and to come out the way you have, says a lot for your character.
I appreciate you saying that. Thank you.
Absolutely true. And don't you think, Linda, that it is true that that men, when they age, they somehow almost become more desirable, more attractive, more. There's something about the grizzling and the experience and the intelligence and the softening of a lot of the fire of youth that can be sort of strangely attractive. And I don't know why men get so weird about aging.
Got something you want to tell me, Dr. Gary?
No, I'm just saying, Josh. I never feared getting older because I actually think it becomes more attractive. It's not like oh, now I'm old and I'm washed up. No, I think it's like you hit your prime as you age.
It's that way for men, but not for women.
Yeah, and you lose that arrogance of youth. That stupid machismo and that dumb thing, and you take on a kind of experience. You get less afraid and more confident, and more. You have something to offer. You have more to talk about than like the stupid stuff you talk about when you're 18. I don't know. I just think it's attractive to age. I like it better, and I like when people just let themselves kind of age gracefully instead of trying to fight it.
Yeah, no, I agree with that completely.
So Josh, if I'm ever my son and daughter live in Sacramento. So if I'm ever out there, maybe I'll look you up and we can go to Applebee's.
Hey, that sounds like a fantastic. I love Applebee's.
I'll stay outside with the dog and eat the wet cigarette. Listen, Josh, somebody in the audience
you live too far away.
Oh, okay, all right. I'm sure that's
Otherwise,
why.
they take you. If I've
Josh
never
would
been to New
still
York.
put me outside. He would
Okay, well,
still
thank
put
you
me
for
outside.
having me. You take
Absolutely.
care.
Somebody in the audience said they thought Josh was 24.
Really? It's nice. 24.
Maybe they have dyslexia, Josh.
No, I mean, I don't know. Some lady at the coffee shop, I was with my nephew and she's like, "Oh, you have a friend with you?" I go, "Nah, this is my well, I go, "Yeah, I guess we're friends, but he's my nephew." And she goes, "Oh, yeah, it's cool. You have a nephew like around the same age as you." And I go, "He's 21. I'm 39." She thought that I was 25, which is a very nice thing, but I think she was lying.
Well, Danny in the audience said that they thought you were 24, and they're not kidding. And somebody else said they thought you looked 32. Isn't that great?
Yeah, it's fine. I like it. Thank you.
Right. Well, it is what it is.
I haven't started. Well, I don't know. I use moisturizer. I really don't know.
Hilarious. I use formaldehyde. Listen, you want to hear a funny and absolutely true story?
Yeah.
So, I'm in my late 40s, but I hate when people think I'm older than that because it happens. Now, I don't care. As I said, I like it, but it just annoys me that people just assume that for whatever reason. So one day there was this woman who was, I guess about 80 in the neighborhood. And she said, "I would love to set you up with my daughter." And I said, "Oh, really? How old is your daughter?" "My daughter is," and I think the daughter was like 64, 63.
Nice.
Said, "How do you think your daughter would feel about the age difference?" And she said, "My daughter likes older men." Which I have to tell you, I hope that something was up with her vision. That's all I'm going to say. But that cracked me up. I tell that story all the time. But come on, that's funny. It sounds like a bad, joke, but it's true. But let's hope that her vision was impaired, and that's why she said that. But I am not kidding. People think I'm kidding. I am not joking. That's an absolutely true story. Josh, in all seriousness, I thought, we went, as always, we went from the goofball, stuff to really heavy stuff. I think there was something about that conversation about being like the mirror in the family that was really very powerful, actually. Do you ever feel like that?
Yeah, of course I do. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's definitely a hard thing to do to deflect, one's insecurities and faults and things like that. So, yes, I completely agree with you, and I think that as far as being introspective, that's probably one of the hardest things that a person can do is look inside of themselves and say, "Hey, these are the things that I should probably change, or that I need to change." And then to do them, to make the change is very difficult. Recognizing it is just the first step. And,
that's right.
And then there's a lot of steps after that. So, yeah, I like you said, it's kind of the emperor's, not wearing, was it the emperor's not wearing
the emperor's new clothes. I will tell you, though, that one thing that nobody ever seems to want to say out loud about turning 40 is that 40 does seem to be right smack in the middle of the general age range of a person.
Sure.
And so 40 does have that way of kind of feeling like I spent 50 cents of the dollar of life, kind of thing. And it makes you appraise your life a little bit and kind of go like, is this a life well spent? And for me, when I turned 40, it became a kind of I don't want to say a crisis, but a kind of a meditation on what the heck the point is of so many things. I mean, I remember, for example,
existentialism.
Yeah, I remember a very interesting thing when on my 40th birthday, I was being driven somewhere to celebrate. I hate celebrating my birthday, but I see it as like like other people have an opportunity to celebrate you. Like I don't really care about my birthday being celebrated.
Really?
But no, I hate celebrating my birthday. It's like a torture. But I was in the car being driven somewhere, and I was doing the thing I always do, where I'm sort of like staring out the window, being pensive. and I saw one of those, those trucks that carry like a whole bunch of busted up cars,
Yeah.
like cars that have been like crushed and smashed and destroyed. And it became this meditation on like how 1 minute you're just driving and the next minute like you could be dead. And I started thinking about how instead of thinking of 40 as like the mid mark, that really any day could be the last one. And it sort of woke me up to the idea of like that you got to live your values, because like technically speaking, like any one of us could be gone. Like,
Well, do you know how hard it is to learn to try to live in the moment?
I know.
It's a very difficult thing to do. And sometimes I look, I've had immense tragedy in my life. I've gone through all these sorts of things, but I've also been blessed beyond my wildest expectations, because I have
be friends with me.
That's true. That's not what I was talking about.
I know. I'm kidding.
I'm just kidding too. My children, I had children very, very young. And so, like you said, you've spent sort of the first 50 cents of the dollar of your life. And having children at that age was such an overwhelming thing at first. And I embraced it with everything that was in me. Basketball practice, baseball practice, school PTA. I was there, man. Like we
lived with a vengeance.
And I'm telling you, so that's how I spent the first half, I guess you could say, of my dollar of life. And I feel like, grandchildren in the future, and yeah, things like that. And so I look forward to those things, but I'm also appreciative of how much life I've already gotten to live. And I have made pretty good use of the time that I've had, because of the way that I have getting to raise my children and seeing them grow up and start to prosper is probably, for me, the greatest experience that I'll probably ever have. And I feel like now, the game, maybe I'm on side missions now. I've done the children and the raising, look, they still bug me incessantly about stuff, which is probably going to be forever. And I'm fine with that. But I feel as though I've been blessed beyond measure when it comes to family, when it comes to
all right,
things like that. And I don't take that stuff for granted.
Well, I've certainly had the part of that, of having family, grandparents, parents, aunts, uncles, great aunts, great uncles, cousins, a brother, beautiful nieces and nephew, sister-in-law, etc. Not the other part, but I think that the truth is that the measure of a life, the harvest of your life, is really just going to be, did you love anything? That's really all it is. I know it sounds corny, but it's true. And in the final analysis of life, I think that's what you're going to carry in your bucket to kind of show for your life. And that's why I always say the one who loves the most wins. The person with the most successful life is the one who's got the most acts of giving life away. And that's, you notice that's all you remember. The other thing is, if you take that approach that I was talking about of not judging anything, like life, like all the bad and good of it just is, you in a really weird way, even when awful, horrible, miserable, disgusting things happen, you find a way of seeing that like it's just part of the tapestry of life, and you're weirdly grateful that life is coursing through you.
Yes.
And you take everything and you treat it like a kind of lesson.
Yes.
And you sort of say, like, I don't ever want that to happen again. But if it does, I'm going to be okay. Like, I'm still living. I mean, Josh, there are people in this world literally like they're living on an iron lung. Like that, you know what I'm saying? Like things like that. There are people like that. There are people like I saw somebody the other day on the train who was head to toe burned. Must have survived some kind of house fire. You look at these people and you just think, wow. You know what I mean? Wow.
Really?
You know what I mean? And it's just extraordinary to me. And then you look at yourself and you go, I'm complaining, but like there's always somebody else who's had a bigger cross. You know what I mean? Somehow, in some way, it's just unbelievable.
Well, there's no question about it. I think that too.
Right. And then you just kind of like, you get weirdly grateful for life. I mean, you ever have that phenomenon where you have a cold and your nose is all stuffed up? And then like you think to yourself, one day when my nose isn't stuffed, I'm really going to appreciate it.
Yes.
I know, you know, that weird phenomenon. It's sort of like that with everything. Like you just kind of go like, if I found out today that I was terminally ill, I sure would be great. Wish I was back in yesterday. But yesterday you might not have been that happy. You know what I mean? Just like think to yourself, like, what if somebody called you up right now and said, like, there's a time bomb in you, like you're not going to be here in a year. What would you do? And I think that a lot of the unhappiness in the world comes from the sadness of being stuck in the past or the anxiety of being stuck in the future, and not just being here and saying, like, what are my values and what would I do if I found out that I wasn't going to be here tomorrow?
Yes,
You know,
and a lot of people
got to live that way.
And a lot of people get stuck in between too scared to live and too scared to die. And,
right.
and the time runs out on you. I mean, time is obviously the ultimate currency. And I think that I became acutely aware of that at a very young age. Also, the idea of death, that it's a part of life, you know, and I remember you telling me one time, you said, you know, I wished you said something like that. I wish you could let things roll off the way that I do, or something like that.
Yes, it's true.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's necessarily what it is. I think it's more of I don't really I don't let things.
You don't obsess over things like that.
Well, it's not even that. It's I give the attention to the things that I think that really, really deserve it, and not when something comes up, or, you know, I'm constantly telling people in my life, hey, you know, it's going to be okay. Let's just think about it, you know, simmer down a little and give it some time, you know, but obviously there are huge things that happen where you have to react to them. But I'm talking about like tragedies, family tragedies, or car, like if I got a phone call that there was a car accident, I need to come, you know, help one of my family, like, you know, yes, I'm going to react in a proper way. But other than it's got to be something
right
to a high standard for me, which
I've noticed that about you.
Yeah.
But what I've noticed about you in conversation when we talk privately is that, you know, I'm not going to say anything I shouldn't say here, but I noticed that, like, for example, because I think like a scientist, I take a couple of examples and then I turn them into like a rule, like I generalize from them. And what you do is you treat each thing like it's an independent thing. So, like, for example, if I said to you, last week I tried to connect with this person and it didn't work out. And then yesterday I tried to connect with this person, it didn't work out. And 3 months ago I tried to connect with this person, so there must be something wrong with me. You would be like, there's no relationship between those things. Like, it doesn't mean anything. You're great. Like, go out and meet somebody. In other words, like, you don't make rules out of things. You just sort of treat them like they are what they are. And I find that actually very useful. It's actually almost like a kind of a CBT therapy technique, to not catastrophize and generalize, and to just sort of see things individually, and to say, like, that's not enough cases to make a rule.
Correct.
Right? There could be other reasons why that's happening. And I find that very useful, you know, because I'm more the type that would be like, I have observed these many things and there's a pattern. You know what I mean? I'm a pattern former. And, you know, so I just find that very useful. It's a good reminder not to generalize too quickly. But that is a technique that you use in conversation. I've noticed that it's very therapeutic technique.
And a lot like you, when conversation, I mean, you know, you've told me, look, I don't want to talk about it before, and I've told you, look, I'm done talking about this, or we've had this, and I think that is a healthy way to discuss things as well. It's like, well, if you know, I'm not interested in talking about this anymore because it's pointless. Yeah, I don't think
it's not worth the energy.
Correct, and I have that happen a lot, not just with not
It's healthy.
in my general everyday, they'll say, "Oh, can you believe that this person said this?" And I always go, "Wow, somebody said something." It never really feels.
But you and I, you have to understand that, and partly because we're sort of in the public eye in some way, and you have to understand, like, we encounter a lot of the darkness that is in everyday life, like the little ugliness that
Yes.
people do, the backbiting, the gossip, the splitting, the making things up, the false, kind of kindnesses, the whatever. And we're very close, and we kind of talk about things, and I just think that it's good to, in the midst of that, to kind of chat and just kind of go, like, take perspective, and I hope I've helped you. I hope I have. But I am, the difference between us is that I ruminate. You're more like, let it blow off, like,
And by the way, that hasn't always served me well, by the way, either. I mean, there are situations that I probably should have taken more serious that I didn't. And it's sort of a
well, that's where I come in. That's why, getting back to what I said to Linda, there does come a time when in life you long for the mirror that will reflect you accurately. In fact, as I said on a previous episode, that is the cruelest thing that an empathic person can do, is stop caring. Because when people shun you for that, it doesn't take very long before they're trying desperately to get your attention again, because they miss it. They're mad at you, but they miss it. And that's why when you're an empathic person, you just keep your mouth shut and sit still, and everything comes back. Because ultimately the person is starved for it, because it's the closest they ever come to truth. See, and I think that, Josh, with you, what I notice is that, sometimes, like, you kind of joke and but then when it washes over you, you get really focused on it and very deep and very, you know what I mean? So it doesn't come across as superficial or avoidant or anything. It's just like, it has to be the time. And you don't want it to be the time. You know what I mean? It's like, if it's going to rain, I'll get an umbrella, but I don't want it to rain, that kind of thing.
Well, and it's also like
Right.
when people call and they ask me, like, personal questions, about my relationship with my father and things like that. But the reason I'm completely fine with that is because there are people that call in and bare their souls here, and it's only right. It's only fair. And I don't mind.
That's a good thing.
Because I think that if I am going to discuss other people's tragedy or things that they've had happen to them, mine is the same. And I'm telling you, I've had conversations with people that have told me about their lives before, and I know you've had this too. And not many things shock me. I guess I get surprised by some things, but shocked, I'm like, it doesn't really shock me. But I've talked to people that have had things happen in their life, their whole family slaughtered. And I just go, and I just go, I'm just like left speechless. Like it's to a different level of anything that I've ever, even experienced, it feels like. And another thing is that comparing tragedies is a stupid thing to do. It's a lot of people do that. They say, well, I haven't been through what you've been through. But the person's telling me that they lost their wife to cancer at like 45. And I go, I have never experienced anything like that. And I hope I never do. And they go, but it's nothing that you haven't, you've been through. And I said, it's a totally different experience, man. Like, you cannot compare these situations. It doesn't work. You're not comparing apples to apples. It's just not a thing, and anyway.
But remember what you said about how, because of some, like, evolutionary, adaptive, whatever, we are designed to attach to our parents, even if they're awful, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing with life. We are designed to preserve and love our life, even if terrible things happen, right? So what happens in this really fascinating way is that, like, we manage to, like, work through anything. It's like the most horrible, miserable, awful things happen, and somehow we have to go on. And it's just amazing what human beings could endure. I mean, I've literally spoken to people who survived torture,
Mhm.
prolonged, protracted child abuse, things like that, and they manage to go on, and sometimes even more than the rest of us appreciate life and love other people. And you know what I'm saying? It's extremely amazing to me. And remember when I told you, Josh, that if you could take all the crosses in the world and mix them up and put them in a big pile, most people would still take their own.
Yes.
That's very true. I have found that to be 100% true. I would take my own because I'm comfortable with it. I know how to handle it. Why would I want to start from scratch with another one?
Yeah, I don't think that I could change. I, my life is carved out of the things that have happened. Everybody's life is carved out of things that have happened to them in the past, and it sort of prepares you for the future. And
That's right.
I would not want to. I would never want to take on somebody else's pain and suffering, because
Right.
like we said earlier in the show, and we'll go ahead and end it here, everybody's trauma and everybody's the way that they handle life is unique to them.
And you don't judge anybody for it because you're not
And
them.
I mean unique as in snowflake unique.
Oh yeah.
I don't even think it's close. Everybody in every circumstance is different. Look, I've met people that have had the same exact thing happen to them that has happened to me, and we have dealt with it in such different ways because there are little nuances in their story that completely takes it into a different trajectory than what I have experienced. Now, the overlay is the same, but it's not when it comes to living your life as a a productive member of society, moving on from the things that have happened to you. It can totally derail. It can completely derail your progress when you sit there and try to compare your tragedy to others, and it just does not.
Well, as just as I know you want to end, I'll just say that we have Halloween coming up, and it's interesting to remember what Halloween is. That it has to do with the eve, the een, that is the evening before All Souls Day, and the reason that you carved turnips and things, and then when it came to America from England, they used pumpkins because they were easier to carve, which then went back to England. Was to make lanterns that sort of frightened away spirits that you thought were walking around, for All Souls Day, in that because that Christian holiday was taken from pagan ideas about that being the day the portal opened, and the spirits could cross over. And, it's interesting and instructive to remember that the whole point of that sort of thing of Halloween is being scared of this idea that there's this transition. But it's not scary. It's not scary. The point is to remember the idea that one day you pass through the membrane of this life and you go to some other consciousness, probably. That's what all the religions of the world are about. If we just go into the dirt, okay, that won't be so bad either. But if we go to some other consciousness, like we're taught by so many of the faiths and philosophies of the world, and in that consciousness is the response to every question we've ever asked the mute sky, and we are with these people that loved us. Isn't that a beautiful thing? And I wonder sometimes, don't you know you'll see your mother again?
I believe that, yes.
I believe it too. And if I didn't believe it, that kind of thing, I don't know where I'd be. But and the thing I most look forward to is the idea, what we learn from the resurrection of Christ, is the idea that these people are in glorified form. They can't, they're spirit. They can't be hurt anymore. They're healthy. They're alive forever. They're infused with life. And wherever she is, if you believe she is there, be happy for her. And I think it's, I really believe that. Now, some people don't, but that gets me through. I would find it very hard to get through the darkness of life if I didn't believe that one day that veil would lift. In fact, everybody gets scared of this idea of the end of the world. Or the word apocalypse means the lifting of a curtain. Apocalypsos is the lifting of a curtain. And then you see the truth. Right now, it has to be channeled through conversations like this, and poetry, and movies, and art, and whatever. But one day you'll get it in big gulps without it passing through metaphors. And don't you believe that?
I do. I have to.
Yeah. Well, you have to. And I think it's beautiful. And I think it's a good place to kind of stop because it's very uplifting. And that's, and I think a lot of people in the audience believe that. That's why that's the other side of asking about paranormal experiences, is that they point to the idea that something transcends this life. You know what I mean? And that's what I try to think about when people are thinking of the dark side of this idea of Halloween or whatever. For me, it's also something that in its original roots points to that there's something that goes beyond this. Anyway, a lovely episode. And by the way, I like the glasses.
Thank you. Tortoise shell.
Is this the new thing?
I have astigmatism. I've had it forever.
You have astigmatism?
Yeah.
Really? I didn't know that. Since you were a little boy?
Yeah.
Oh, how horrendous is your, do you wear lenses, contact lenses often?
I don't. I probably should, but I don't.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm supposed to wear glasses, but I can't bring myself to do it, so I just walk around like Mr. Magoo all the time.
Yeah, I don't want to. I want to be able to have some. I don't want it to deteriorate any faster than my eyesight is supposed to. So I try, especially like when I'm on the computer or working on the computer or whatever. I try to protect my eyes because people always go, Josh, you're squinting, because I do this a lot when I'm not where I go.
Right.
It's not a good thing, brother. It's not a good thing.
My eye doctor still tells the story because I've seen the same parts since I was a little boy. Still tells the story of when I was a kid and he was trying in this, like when you talk in a baby voice to a kid who's like 6 or 7 years old.
Yeah.
Trying to explain to me what was going on with my eyes. And I said, "You mean light is falling too short of my retina?"
By the way, I talk like that to Peyton.
Huh?
I talk like that to Peyton still, my oldest son.
Really?
Yeah, he gets pissed.
Really?
I always go, "How's the little Bubba doing?" And he's like, "Oh my God."
Dear Lord. Do you talk to the dogs that way? You probably do. You treat the dogs.
I do talk to them that way, yeah.
You treat them like infant. Do you put them in like Christmas cards, like images of Christmas?
No.
Do you ever dress them up, the dogs?
I have, yeah.
Hats,
Yeah.
Sherlock Holmes hats. What do you put on them?
No, Sherlock Holmes. Mostly what I got Otis like a rain suit one time with a hat, like a yellow rain suit.
Like a Paddington Bear outfit or something?
Sort of, yeah.
That's good.
I remember trying to put it on him once, and his belly was just too big for the Velcro, so he had to just go wide open with it. I snapped it, and he looked up at me, and he kind of just like, "Let's go," and he goes. I went,
love
"Oh, no."
Well, I heard that, and then we got to stop. I heard that studies of dating sites show that women rate photos of men higher when they are holding pets.
Yeah.
And the theory is that it gives an idea that you'd be like a good dad, or like that you can love and be sensitive and whatever. But play the dog up, Josh. Put cute outfits on it. Put it in a perambulator, for God's sake. Walk down the street. It'll be great.
Yeah. Look, they're hard enough to get through the day with. They're fantastic, but they're odd little creatures.
Right. They are odd little creatures. It reminds me of Frasier when someone gave him the same piece of advice about pets being attractive. And he said, "I walked around for months with that goldfish and didn't meet anyone."
Exactly.
Obviously, it's a certain kind of pet. But what do you think? You're going to walk around with the dog and little baby carrots or something?
Probably not.
Right. People in the audience are saying they like plants better. Do they realize that I have 280 some odd plants or what?
How is that possible?
I don't know. I mean, I'm a plant nut. I mean, literally,
You count them?
I have to count them because there's a certain number that have to be watered on certain days. It's like a
You're
system.
like, oh, that must take it. This is for a different show, but I mean, how long does it take?
I have a system where it's a lot of work. It's hours of work. I mean, but they are so beautiful. I've gotten so good at raising weird, exotic things. You have no idea.
You're a horticulturist.
Well, I'm just really good at it. I have to. I mean, the things I grow in terraria and the plural of terraria and are really, really beautiful and just incredible thing. And of course, everything is getting older and bigger, so there's like a jungle quality. It looks like, as I say, it looks like the set of a Tarzan movie. By the way, are you dressing up for Halloween?
No.
You don't do anything for Halloween?
No, never.
Remember when Wednesday Addams said, "This is my costume. I'm a homicidal maniac. They look like everybody else."
Yeah. Now we have a block party around here. We have a block party because I don't participate other than just maybe walking around a little bit, but other than that, I mean, I used to take my kids trick-or-treating when they were younger. It was a whole thing. We get a whole group together and we did it for years. But I don't have anything against Halloween. I like some Halloween movies. I'm a big fan of Hocus Pocus. I like Bette Midler.
Oh, yeah. I've seen the whole house in Salem.
Yeah, I like that kind of stuff. I'm not a huge horror movie fan, but just whatever. They're whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I'm more of a Christmas guy.
Oh, I love Christmas. I'm crazy about it. But Christmas, real Christmas, not that, sitting down watching Home Alone, wearing a goofball sweater with like spending thousands and thousands of dollars on gifts and that stuff. It drives me crazy. I like the real.
My grandmother and I every year watch Home Alone and Home Alone 2.
Sorry.
And
Trump in it, right? Isn't he in Home Alone 2?
Yes.
He is. He like points to the.
He owned the building that they were filming in, and he demanded to be in it.
Oh boy, does that surprise you? But anyway, so Home Alone.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is I like Home Alone, although the kid is a psychopath.
Like he's a serial
sadist. He basically creates a torture chamber. Yeah, he creates a torture chamber. Talk about evil that goes beyond. Because he is, I think they should make a movie that shows that when he grows up, he's a serial killer.
Just called the cops.
The chamber. Yeah.
He could have called the cops. He knew they were coming. He knew it was premeditated, and it's funny though. But anyway, I gotta go. We gotta go.
The bird lady, and he would probably went on.
You'd love the bird lady, huh?
No, but what I'm not talking about.
The bird lady from Home Alone.
I just think, yeah.
Dr. Gary, I'm muting you. Would you date the bird lady from Home Alone?
Am I back on?
Yeah.
You're talking about Brenda Fricker, the actor. Yeah. No, I think it was Brenda Fricker, wasn't it? Am I wrong? No, but maybe Maureen O'Hara, maybe the mom.
No, it's bird lady or nothing.
Moira, and she was Sally in the Night Before Christmas. I mean, she's not Maureen O'Hara. What's her name?
I don't think
the actress in the 40s. What the heck's her name? Crap. Catherine O'Hara. She's.
I think you would. But
anyway, I met Macaulay Culkin once. We'll have a chat about that. I met Macaulay Culkin when he was dating Mila Kunis.
Oh, I didn't even know he did that.
Oh yes, so at great length. They were a very interesting couple. But I remember knowing them a long time ago, and
wow.
Yeah. But anyway, so
gotta go. 3 hours. 3.5. Thank you so much, Dr. Gary. Hey, check out Dr. Gary's piano page. It's be running in the chat. We'll put the link in the
That's right.
Put the link in the comments as well.
The New Evil.
Yes, and the New Evil, you can pick it up on Amazon or Barnes and Noble.
Anywhere.
anywhere that sells books. It's a big read, and
Yes.
it's just get it, order it now so you can put it in a stocking stuffer and terrify somebody for Christmas. So anyway,
All right. Thank you, man. We'll do another one soon, I'm sure.
Dr. Gary, thanks, man.
Bye.
Talk soon. Bye. And let's see here. All right, guys, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. We are 3 hours and 30 minutes. It's a long show. It's a good show. And I appreciate everybody that showed up. Anyway, we will catch you on the next one. And until then.